viewers, we're recording this for posterity, and
All right, my apologies. So all I was saying is, again, roughly 40 to 50 minutes for presentation, and then the board will have questions for you, and we have scheduled, again, about 15 minutes for those. So, Jamie, turn them loose, or?
Yep.
All right,
Go ahead, start.
take it away.
All right, well, good evening, and thank you, school board and, Gray Architects, for the opportunity here. I'm, Scott Hughes, I'm our Vice President and General Manager of Minneapolis office, and I'm representing our executive leadership team.
Now it is.
Thank you. As our general manager in Minneapolis, one of my roles is to determine which team members get assigned to each project. I can absolutely assure you that we have the A team assigned here. All of them come with K through 12 experience. All of them have experience working together, and I'm really excited about that. I'll throw it over to Mark.
Good evening. My name's Mark Custer. I'm Senior Project Manager. I've been with Knutson for within the industry for 22 years. 12 of those have been with Knutson. My primary role on the project is general oversight and support to our project team, with, Scott's assistance if need be, but I'm basically your main point of contact all the way through the pre-construction part of the project through, all the way through closeout, warranty, et cetera. Some of my recent and current experience is I handle our St. Paul Public School work. Currently, we've got 3 projects in various stages going on for that, and then I was part of our team for our St. Louis Park Public School referendum that just kicked off not that long ago. So with that, I'll kick it over to Landon, our project manager.
All right, thank you. Good evening, everybody. As Mark said, my name is Landon Brigger, project manager. I've been with Knutson Construction for 8 years, and that is my entire 8 years in the industry. I've really loved it at Knutson, so stayed here for the duration and continue to stay here for as long as I can see forward, I guess. So a lot of that 8 years I've spent in K-12 work, pretty much all of it. I've worked with Josh on a few projects. I've worked with Mark on a few school projects. And on this project, I'll be on site, kind of the day-to-day from the office side of things, working with Josh and the rest of our team, making sure we handle any issues that arise, and just working through from pre-construction all the way through construction and through closeout.
Hi everybody, I'm Josh Swinghammer. I'm a project superintendent for Knutson Construction. I have 27 years experience in the construction industry, primarily through the K through 12 market and construction projects. K through 12 projects are my passion. I enjoy them, and I'm excited to be here. My role primarily will be the day-to-day, all field-related items. That'll be safety, quality control, schedule. So I'll be your contact 24/7. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm Kirk Kluznik. I'm senior estimator with Knutson Construction. I'd be leading the pre-construction efforts on the project. I've got over 20 years experience in the industry. I've done over $1 billion in K through 12 work. And just wanted to thank you again for the opportunity to propose.
Hello, everyone. My name is Alea Traub, and I am our Virtual Design and Construction, or VDC Manager here at Knutson. My favorite part of my role is I get the opportunity not only to work with Kurt and our pre-construction team, but also seeing the project all the way through, working with Josh, Landon, and Mark as well. My role on the projects are going to be to provide innovative cost and time savings tools and technologies that we see as a potential fit for your projects, so I'm interested to share more about those.
All right, so as we dig into the presentation, please stop and ask us any questions if you have them. I can tell you we are much better builders than we are presenters, so we'd love for it to have a little bit of dialogue, so feel free to ask us any questions. I also want to acknowledge that we do think we have all of the interview questions that were sent ahead of time incorporated into our presentation, but if you want to dig deeper on anything, like I said, let's discuss it. So as we first things first, I'm going to go into about us. And so for a lot of you, this might be the first time hearing about Knutson, so I just want to share a little bit about what it's like at Knutson. So We are a family-owned business. We've been in the industry for 112 years. Being a family-owned business, that really kind of drives the culture at Knutson, where we all know each other. We've kind of got that small business feel. We know the personal side of each of our employees, know how many kids they have, things like that. So it's got that small business feel, yet we've got the large corporate resources to do large and small, complex projects. That is really fun and exciting. We're absolutely a community-focused and relationship-based contractor. One of the best compliments we can get as a builder is repeat business, and that's what really we focus on, is when a customer comes to us, asks us to build a project, we do it successfully, and then they come back to us again. That's the best compliment we could get. So we hope that today is the first day of a long-standing relationship with Hudson School District. We have 5 offices, all within the Midwest. 3 of them are in Minnesota, with Minneapolis being our headquarters, Rochester and Mankato. Then we have 2 down in Iowa. And I also want to say we're very familiar with building in Wisconsin. We currently have a large project going in La Crosse for Mayo Health Systems, a new hospital. We recently completed a project in Eau Claire, so we're very familiar with DSPS and the authorities having jurisdiction of what it takes to work in Wisconsin. This style of contract, being a CM at risk, is really our bread and butter style of contract at Knutson. That represents about 80% of our business is done with this delivery method, so we know what it takes to be successful. We have about 450 employees. That is both our office and field staff, and takes into account all 5 of those offices that I just referenced. And with that, I'll throw it over to Mark.
Yeah, thanks, Scott. So one of the questions that were asked, and we want to make sure we address, is our proposed staffing for the projects. So we have our org chart up here. A few things to note. Real quick, I just want to point out we have Kean McWaters noted kind of up at the top there. He's just a resource for us. This, not to be misleading, he's not going to be directly involved in this project, but he is our K-12 resident expert, if you will, corporately for Knutson. He's done about $500 million worth of K-12 work in the last 5 or 7 years. So he's kind of an internal resource that we draw on, so it's worth mentioning. More specifically about staffing, you heard from Kurt. He's our senior estimator, so he's our lead during the pre-construction process, along with myself. On the construction side of things, we have Landon named as our lead project manager. So let me back up. This would probably frame this better. So as you know, we've got 3 projects that are going to be going on concurrently that are all in, relatively speaking, close proximity. So this staffing plan is intentionally meant to be, I mean, there's efficiencies with that. So it's intentionally meant to make sure we can provide the appropriate amount of staffing for each project, especially as some of these ramp up during the summer months, without going overboard and treating them like they're, 3 separate projects in a silo, right? Those would be most likely staffed differently. So we think this is the best balance of cost and attention to the project. So specifically, Landon would lead and be involved with all 3 projects. Part of his staff would be 2 project engineers, and for Knutson, what that means, those are people who run RFIs, submittals, chase down daily challenges and solutions, that sort of thing, plus a project coordinator as well. And then on the field side of things, Josh would lead the whole works as like the lead superintendent for the whole project. Under him, he would have a full-time assistant superintendent and a full-time general foreman. So the thought process there is we've got 3 sites that there's never any point in time where a site wouldn't have Knutson supervision on it. So with that, we can move to safety, and Josh will take us through kind of what our culture looks like there.
So safety, Knutson lives and breathes safety. It's part of our culture. It's extremely important to us, and we know it's extremely important to the district as well, especially when you're working with students, staff. In our field, we're all construction workers, we're trained in safety, but we understand that not everybody is. So it's our job to make sure that we're taking the extra steps to promote safety on our projects, make sure the schools are safe, make sure staff is safe. So part of some of the tools we use are on the sites, we have, first when we start on a site, we'll have site-specific safety orientation plans. Each site will have its own safety plan, identify that. That's also shared with our trade partners. We have daily job huddles, and we also have pre-task planning, which was we go through each task every morning on every contractor, see what they're doing, identify risk, mitigate the risk, identify safety, whether that's something that we'll have to talk to the district about, where we're working in proximity. Basically, anything we do, the district can be aware of that when we're working if there's some safety risk involved. We also recently just developed a zero incident program, because at Knutson, we feel that even one incident isn't appropriate. So we don't want any accidents. We want our trade partners to go home safe. We want our self-perform workers to go home safe. We don't want anything to happen. So that's implemented in all our projects right now. Along with that, we also do OSHA safety walks, OSHA safety consultations. So that's also part of our daily program, our daily lives. Again, safety is utmost important to us. Mark will talk more about their self-perform.
Yeah, so our self-perform capabilities are shown on the screen. If you can't read that, that's concrete, masonry, rough carpentry, finish carpentry, demolition, some specialty installations as well. So those are the things Knutson commonly self-performs on many of our projects. Just to address some of the things that were in the interview memo, it's pretty common for us to have to competitively bid for our self-perform work, so we understand that's a requirement here. That's a non-issue for us. And one of the ways we can address to make sure we get enough bid coverage, because that is sometimes a challenge. If the market knows you're self-performing something and you're bidding on it, how can we guarantee we're going to get at least 3 total bids on that? Again, that's pretty commonplace for a lot of the work we do. A couple good strategies that have success in the past would be, formal sealed bids that we can decide get submitted to the architect or someone at the district to keep as a transparent and fair process. Or maybe a less informal scenario is sometimes we've had emailed bids. If we're not doing a sealed bid process, they can be emailed to, again, someone at the district or the architect, so we don't have an opportunity to see the competitive bids before we send ours in. So we're open to that. There's lots of different strategies for that. The other part of that is, and we'll get into this real soon here a little bit further, but is making sure we do the appropriate outreach. We do spend a lot of time in the pre-construction phase outreaching, making sure we are drumming up excitement for the project, making sure we understand who is planning to bid the project, and if we're short on potential bidders there, hitting the street a little bit harder to find more bidders to make sure we do get good bid coverage on every trade package. So, and then the other thing I want to touch on too, so the question was asked if we're awarded any self-perform work, does that affect our fee proposal? In this scenario, it wouldn't. These would be competitive lump sum numbers. Our CMR fee as proposed wouldn't change. It's all based on cost of work, so no changes there. With that, we'll kind of get into what I hinted at a little bit with some of our outreach. Part of that is we do have a DE&I department at Knutson. It's pretty unique in our industry. We have 2 full-time employees in that department, so that's diversity and inclusion. As far as we're aware, there aren't any project goals or anything like that for this project, but this is part of who Knutson is. So we're going to do our outreach like we always do. We'll track the metrics and the results like we always do. So we'll have that information available if it's something the district is interested in. But I think the takeaway is this is one part of the outreach we do in a pre-bid scenario to make sure we're offering opportunities and we get good bid coverage. So the next part would be along the same theme, local involvement. Again, this all comes down to outreach and doing the due diligence on the front end of the project. That's where a successful project starts, is before it ever hits the street for bid. So I'll just use an example. In this case, what's on the screen here is for our St. Louis Park Public Schools. We did that. We conduct a pre-bid meeting before the plans and specs are on the street for bid. But they're developed far enough along so we know schedules are set in place. We know what the trade packages will be, what the opportunities are. So there's a lot of outreach legwork that we do on the front end to make sure this is well attended. And basically the whole point of this is to drum up excitement for the project and start informing the local community of what opportunity is coming, when it's coming, and what specifically within the scopes of work might fit with potential bidders. So a lot of stuff can come out of that can help guide us how to write our bid packages to encourage more participation in the project.
Okay, so we know that local participation is extremely important to the district as well as Knutson, but hand in hand with that is community engagement. This is something that's extremely important to Knutson. We want to make sure that our neighbors, the residents, and the students within the community feel engaged in the construction process and also involved. We recognize that we're entering their space, and we want to make sure that that's something that's exciting for them and not something that is not liked. So we have quite a few things that we do with being experts in the K through 12 space that we do on almost all of our projects that we would love to recommend. One example of that is beam signing. Josh and Landon actually both participated in a beam signing, which is one of the photos up there, and they were able to get over 4,000 signatures on the last beam that was placed for that project. Being that we do this on most of our projects, we really can suggest a lot of those and offer up the best point in the schedule to complete some of those activities. But of course, if the district has any ideas that they would like to implement, we're always happy and excited to do that as well. One other example I wanted to talk about is our high school internship program. We recently completed this with St. Paul Public Schools, and what this is it's an opportunity for us to give juniors and seniors in high school the opportunity to be involved in these construction projects. We're bringing them in just like any other intern. We're giving them the full experience all the way from interviewing, onboarding, to working in the field alongside our PEs and PMs, which not only allows them a chance to review the construction project, see if it's something they would like, but gives us a chance to start filling our pipeline within our communities. We know that this industry needs people, and why not start with the people that live here and are learning within them?
All right, so with that, I'm going to talk a little bit about pre-construction. So one of the ways that Knutson differentiates themselves from other firms in the market is how we handle pre-construction. We take a very proactive approach with respect to how we manage the budget and estimating, also how we handle procurement, and like we've talked about recently here, trade contractor engagement, and then also the bidding activities. One of the ways that we successfully manage pre-construction activities, and specifically estimating for clients like yourself, is we use a real-time estimating system or method. We constantly update our clients on where we are with respect to costs. So, you know, you're never going to be blindsided by an issue, or we do our absolute best to make sure that you aren't. So, you know, my goal is to make sure that, you know, through the different design phases, if there are changes, and there will be, the drawings will progress through and we'll hit different issues. Is that issue that may pop up, or that design change, or that ask or request an $8,000 issue or an $800,000 issue? You know, it's good to know that early so that we can adjust and maybe take a step back and talk about, some different methods to address that. We also have a state-of-the-art estimating system that we just recently rolled out. It's called Destiny Estimator, that allows us to take traditional 2D documents like you'd see a PDF or a drawing sheet and get our quantity takeoff from that and cost it that way. But we also have implemented where we take the 3D model that's prepared by Bray Architects and others and actually use that information by interrogating the model and assigning costs to the elements within the model. And that, you know, gives us a leg up in a couple different ways. One, it allows us to leverage our historical cost databases that we use and are updated with the metrics that we receive by self-performing work. So we self-perform, like we've said, you know, demolition, concrete, masonry, carpentry activities, and some other specialty installations, Division 10 items like bathroom accessories, things like that. So, you know, we've got the historical data based on what our crews do, and we can use that to help prepare budgets and estimates. And then also, Knutson doesn't estimate or budget in a vacuum. We do have an excellent historical cost database, but one of the things we do is we reach out to trusted trade partners subcontractors, vendors for pricing at different periods throughout the project to make sure that we're on target with respect to major systems like the mechanical system or the electrical system or, a certain piece of major equipment. So we make sure that we've got that, costed and that those dollars that we're carrying are accurate as we move through the different phases within the project. So, why does this matter to Hudson schools? So, there's 4 reasons. One is it reduces the amount of redesign or rework and actually, speeds up the overall design process. 2, in some instances, it allows us to get out for bid sooner. That's one of the things that we're seeing that's trending here recently. And then also, it can allow us to set the GMP sooner as well and be more accurate with respect to that GMP. And then, finally, it allows us to fine tune and maybe even reduce the contingency amount because we do have a better set of cost data that's more accurate. So that is why we are a big fan and really push using our real-time estimating system at Knutson. So with that, we'll move on to value engineering. And I know that sometimes value engineering can be a subject where it's can be problematic for some people on how it's approached, but I think that we've got a unique perspective on how we approach it as well. We do it through a collaborative effort with the designers if we need to employ value engineering. And value engineering, really what it does is it analyzes the different design building systems, the equipment, and major material selections so that, we can right-size it for the budget and the project if we do have budget issues. And also, one of the things we do look at is because we are a builder and look at it through the project through a builder's eye, sometimes we can make suggestions where, additional value to the district is actually picked up. There's initial cost if you purchase a major piece of equipment or the total life cycle cost, so we can look at that and see, how that maybe impacts, or building system, how that maybe impacts the overall project. Up on the board here is an example of the value engineering log that Knutson uses. This is a sample project that we have. And, the different line items in here would be something that we'd work through during the different design phases with Bray Architects and, of course, Hudson Schools to see what levers we could pull if need be to again, right-size the project and if we needed to, bring the budget back into alignment with the goals of the district. So. And again, I want to stress that if value engineering is necessary, we take a very collaborative, sympathetic approach with respect to the design team's work that they prepare. We try to make suggestions and maybe minor changes while maintaining the integrity and intent of the design prepared by those design professionals. So. With that, I'm going to move on to the project dashboard. I'm going to talk about the pre-construction portion of the project dashboard and how we use it in Knutson, and then Mark is going to finish up with how it's used during the construction process. So from a high level, the project dashboard is really a communication tool that we provide to our clients, typically school board members and district leadership, to give an overall project health status check. And so again, like I said, we use this through the pre-con and the construction phases, and really what it is, on a high level, it gives you a quick snapshot of budget, schedule, and safety. And with that, I'm going to let Mark roll into how he uses it for construction.
Yeah, so this is a custom dashboard that Knutson created ourselves. It's super customizable, so there's a multitude of different data points that could be displayed and shared. So it's totally something that we would work with the project team to decide what version of this we want to see, or versions, depending on how you want to use it or communicate it. But like Kurt mentioned, during the pre-con phase, this is kept updated so we can always be tracking where budgets are at. But after bids go out, once construction starts, and as construction progresses, we continue to update this, and this is our dashboard all the way through construction as well. So it really can give you it's a really good executive summary of the health of the project all the way through to the completion of the project. So, yeah, it's been a great tool.
All right, and with that, I'm going to briefly talk about the state of the industry and some of the indices we use to track things like inflation and where material costs are going. There's a couple of indices we use, but typically we leverage the 2 that are shown here on the board. And again, why does it matter to Hudson Schools? we use it to minimize risk for our clients. So, we know there's volatility in the market, and there has, especially in the last couple of years, last 5 years. So we use this information to make sure that our estimates and our budgets, eliminate as much risk as possible for our clients. We also use this information to develop bidding strategies, and we also monitor, like I said, commodity pricing. So, for instance, we want to know if there's a large project in the area and all the electrical contractors are going to be, basically working on that project, and could that have an impact on who bids and what cost is received on bid day, and what does that do to our budget and the estimates that we prepared. And then also, we want to know, with respect to commodity pricing, where is steel going to be in 24 and 25? Are we going to see wild swings like we did in the past? And how do we account for that, and again, minimize risk for our clients? So with that, I'm going to turn over to Brandon and Josh, and let them talk about construction activities.
All right, thank you, Kurt. Yeah, so along with a lot of the cost swings the last 3 years, of course, since COVID, we've seen major swings in just our ability to procure items, the time it takes to get those. So our pre-construction department has really developed this great list. They keep a pulse on all of the items that we know are long items, as well as many items that are not on this list that are currently tracking well. One good example here, roofing was on this list a few months ago. It was taking months to get it, and now we can get it pretty quickly, so it's off the list. But this here is how we kind of just keep a track on air handlers, electrical switchgear. In some cases that can take almost 2 years to get on site from the time we release it. So just a really good way that we can track all of these items here, keep a pulse on it. We verify all of these with our trusted industry partners, vendors, at least every other week, if not more frequently. And then quarterly, we will issue this to all of our clientele as well, just to kind of keep everybody up to date with the market conditions.
Oh my.
Whoops.
Sorry, it decided to just jump for all the pushes that I've done the whole time.
There we go. Next, I'm going to talk about what we call the bid assurance program. This is really where we take all the great information that Kurt and our pre-construction team has been putting together and analyzing with Bray and the design team. And we really assemble it all into work scopes. And what a work scope is to us is it's the bucket of information that our trade partners are going to bid on. So we are extremely thorough with this because it helps eliminate scope gaps so we don't have issues later. And it also helps eliminate doubling up so we don't have any extra money sitting anywhere, and everything can be really shook out. So what we're putting into these is everything required that we expect them to do, as well as information from DE&I, safety, any ideas pre-construction had. So we're really wrapping everything up in a bow, making sure that everything is very clear with various trade packages. And typically we'll have anywhere from 20 to 40 trade packages on a project, depending on the breakout and the extent. So this detail on the screen here you can see is just one example. Excuse me, this is our bid assurance program. To our knowledge, none of our industry peers are doing this, what we've heard from our partners anyway that work with various peers. And what we do here is we go through the drawings. Basically, we make a second copy of them, and we put those little flags up there that you can see on every single note. So every note on every detail will have that flag, and that assigns it to a trade package. So I know it's hard to see, but those red ones at the top say 01A, so that'd be trade package 01A or general trades. Some of the ones that have 2 items on it, we're getting as specific as defining who's providing it, who's installing it, and if there's 2 flags, we'll have a line item in their work scope that describes what their flag on that item means. And then we'll create a very high-level bid form, make sure that any add alternates or comparisons we want to see are included as well. Once we reach that stage, we're ready to solicit bids. Mark spoke a lot about that, about having community engagement, local contractors, diverse contractors. We'll also issue this out through our system on Pantera, where we invite all of the high-level partners we've worked with. We'll also make sure we invite any partners or contractors that you are familiar with and want invited as well. If they happen to not be on our list, they probably are, but we just verify that as well. So then once we've solicited bids, we've received our bids, we go into what we call the bid leveling process. And this is really open book, transparent. You can see an example on the screen there. That is one tab in a very large spreadsheet. There's a tab for each work scope, and they summarize at the front. So we know in real time as we're plugging in our bids what that front number is coming to. You can see the vertical columns there. That's each contractor that we got a number from. The horizontal down in the middle there, general scope items. We really clarify in great detail all the items that we wanted that trade package to include. If there's a one-off item that we have written in there, anything of that sort, just to ensure that we make sure everything is covered, we don't have any holes. And if somebody does exclude something, we'll see it right here on the list, and we'll either be able to get a number for it or a plug number from another partner, just to ensure that we've got all the dollars covered. After this step, we will make our recommendations to you, the district, and we'll review it together. You'll see everything we've received, and then we'll make decisions. Once we're good to go, we'll begin contracting our sub-partners as well. All right, so next we're going to go into the construction portion of the project here.
Sorry, I'm being patient so that it doesn't just go to the end.
All right. So we know that all of these projects are additions and renovations, that they take a different amount of effort and a different level of detail than a new project out in a green field somewhere. There's a lot more care that needs to go into them. You'll hear more about this from us as we go through our next few slides, but our team is very familiar with these projects. So in the fee schedule that we filled out and sent in Monday, there were two hypothetical construction timelines. Essentially, they're summarized at the top there. Hypothetical one was the work all starting, running through the school year into the second summer, straight through from first summer to second summer. And hypothetical construction timeline two, where essentially what we call summer slams. We do all the reno work during the first summer. We stop, we turn the building over, do the reno work during the second summer, finish it up, with the exception of the additions, which are running from that first summer slam into the second one. So we got several bullet points there on kind of things we consider when we're looking at these. In hypothetical construction timeline one, working through the school year, we know these are occupied buildings. We know that they're at or near capacity. So that's going to mean a lot smaller phases, potentially temporary classrooms. We've done that, but it's really something you kind of want to do as a last resort. Same with off work hours, especially if it's in a room that's occupied during the day. You lose about almost half of your shift just to move everything out of the way, do your work for a few hours, clean up, put everything back the way it was so that the occupants can use it during the day. You'll find, and you'll hear more from me and Josh, that our thought process aligns more with hypothetical construction timeline two, with the two summer slams, and then with the additions beginning maybe a month or two prior to that first summer slam. We can get going with footings, foundations, and items like that.
So to add on a little bit what Lana was saying, in the hypothetical one, we've done them both, and we feel now with what we have going on with the labor force, and also we understand that the students and staff, you guys have a job to do, and that's educate kids. So if we're in there before working around, so we're gonna end up being disruptful. There could be potential power outages, potential water shutdowns, and that we would have to really schedule. So really, if you look at hypothetical one, technically we have a few more months time-wise, but actually it's more efficient to go with timeline two because the buildings are empty. We can do our thing. We can still schedule shutdowns because we understand there'll still be some staff, but we can have the whole building to ourselves pretty much and do what we need to do to get the project done for you. So again, as Lana was saying, we took a kind of deep dive in hypothetical two, we believe is the best recommendation to move forward with.
All right, so next we're going to talk just a little bit about how we kind of manage our site security, and we have students and staff listed there. They're very clear, their occupants are in the building every day. We want to protect them, but we also consider general public, somebody walking by on the sidewalk or at night, they could wander in. We take this very seriously, and that's why we'll talk through all these items we perform here, just as well as events. We know you guys will have many events, music, sporting events going on the site simultaneously. So we really kind of wrap everything up in our site fence there. We'll make sure that the laydown is in their contractor parking. This will have gates with locks on it. It'll be locked at the end of every shift. They'll be closed during the shift just to ensure that they're not a visual opening for people to drive into. And then also we have security badging noted at the bottom. Sometimes we do this ourselves, sometimes we do it with the districts we work with. Just basically background checks, ensuring that everybody working on the site is okay to be there.
Yeah, so we'll develop one of these for each site, as you can see further in the presentation, but basically shows the site fence, which is gonna be inspected daily, because we understand there could be things that get moved out of the way, either by myself or by one of my foremen, my assistant superintendent. That's, again, inspected daily. We choose this way, and then we put on the bidding documents that actually shows where these fences are, lay down areas, temp entrances, or there's areas that the district doesn't want us to be in, we lay that out over with the district, and then we agree upon it, then we issue it. So it's just another tool we use to keep up with safety and security.
So this next slide here, you'll see it's a very similar image to the last one. It's just a little more in-depth. This is actually kind of a combination of our site logistics, our interior phasing plan, as well as even some of our schedule notes, which you'll notice align with that hypothetical phase 2 with the 2 summer slams and then the renovations during the school year. We also have a master schedule that aligns with this. That's in the back of that booklet we handed out at the start. It's pretty long. We have EP Rock fully shown in that schedule, just because that was the one listed in that interview memo. And then we have the other 2 schedules, the other 2 projects, sorry, have that same amount of schedule detail, but they're just wrapped up right now in there. Otherwise, it would be about 16 more pages than it is.
So again, this would be something that'd be part that we'd also share with the time with contractors. So, with this is EP Rock, and Hudson's similar, but we have, obviously starting with the secured entrance, that's gonna run through 2024, start right away, and we'll work through into the school year. We're looking at suggested temp entrance, rerouting that traffic flow. But if you see in the green, we gave the corridor work, and that's where we'd start. We start through the corridors, bring our MEP through all the corridors, and pick off some common spaces at that time too, potentially a couple bathrooms. We get all our work through the corridors, and then what we do is we stub it off, whether it be the piping, be electrical, fire alarm, into the classrooms, and that's where we leave it until second summer. So our plan would be that way too, is with the pause in between, that way we have more time to investigate any potential design changes, unforeseen conditions, so we'd have the time to react before the next summer. Because sometimes if we're concurrent like that way, we don't have enough time to react, and that gets delayed, so that's kind of the same thing.
So this next slide here is really just a high-level swim schedule. We call it swim lane schedule. Actually, it kind of looks like the lanes in a pool, but this kind of really just high-level shows our plan. You can see the first 2 items are that first summer slam. The third item is that secured entrance addition, starting with that first summer slam going into that first school year. We don't anticipate that taking until the second summer slam. So you can see we've got that wrapping up a little bit early there, and once that's ready, we'll turn it over for your use. And then you can see the second summer plan stacked up there on the right. And this just is a good tool to share for yourselves, for community. It just kind of is a high-level overview of the project.
And again, this is a phasing plan for North Hudson Elementary, kind of a similar idea. Go through corridor work, perform that, then move on to the classrooms the following summer, with the gym addition starting right away and working through the school year until that's completed. The Hudson Middle School, that's something that could be a little bit different. Being it's a larger campus, we do feel there's some opportunities there to grab some certain areas, working with the district to certain pods or certain areas that we could section off during the school year and work on, but we kind of taken the same approach with this one as well.
Next, Josh and I are just going to take a couple minutes and talk about case studies. We know that was an important item noted in the interview memo. That top row there, the 2 pictures, and then the Eden Prairie Public School, that's their Central Middle School. That's actually a project Josh and I did together. Very similar to this project. It was 2 summer slams with the additions running from that first summer slam all the way to the second summer slam. That middle picture kind of shows about a third of the building, but we added roughly a dozen additions all the way around this large existing facility. It actually went from 2 grades to 3 grades when we were done with the project, so that just shows kind of the scope of what we added on there. That top left picture, kind of on the right side, you can see the radius. That was the new secured entrance that we built on that school as well. We did that during the first summer slam, and similar to EP Rock, a little bit into the next school year, and then turned it over for them to utilize. One interesting feature on this project, the owner and design team had decided to just add on to the existing fire alarm system. And once we got into the project, it was found that the existing system, the wiring was basically a bowl of spaghetti. It was untraceable. Even the school didn't know where everything went. The school and the architect made the decision to go ahead and replace the whole system. We were able to pivot and get that all done in that first summer. So they were back online and live for that following school year. And then all the additions were tied in, brought online as they were finished.
And again, just to add to the St. Louis Park Public Schools, that's the project I'm currently on. That's kind of about the same lines as the project we're looking for you. There'll be 2, it's a multi-year project, but it's also 2 summer slams incorporating that, and there will be 5 different school buildings that we're working on as well. So that's a heavy renovation with one small addition, but it still fits the same parameters as we're looking at for the Hudson district. So we do have experience in this, and we've done quite a few of them, and now we think we got it down pat pretty good by now, so.
So we've spent a lot of time talking about how we're going to keep schedule and budget in line, but we also really like to emphasize that we're not going to do that at the expense of quality. They all have to occur simultaneously and together for us to consider this project an overall success. You can see on the screen there mock-ups, early design, but where we really kick it into gear is these pre-installation meetings. We invite anybody from the district, the design team, but then it's mandatory for all of our contracting partners. And what we're doing here is just a last once-over, very deep dive of all of the submittals, shop drawings they've submitted to date, making sure that everything is absolutely what you want in your building, what the architect has designed, and then they'll walk us through their installation steps before they get started on the install. And then we follow that up shortly after they begin install. We'll do first work inspections. It's essentially a pre-installation meeting, but now we're on site. We've got a live in-place mock-up of what's actually installed on the building to look at. Typically, there's not many issues here, but sometimes we do catch 1 or 2 small items that maybe not a big deal in a little area, but once they're installed on the entire project, could become a challenge.
And the last one is punch as you go. So that's something that we do in-house, our team. Being that these are really fast-paced projects and the punch list seems to get shrunk down at the end of the schedule, as soon as we have an area finished, we'll pre-punch it ourselves. Our team will walk through, make sure damages, anything like that, or anything that needs to be done. We'll punch it out. I know design teams usually appreciate that, so that way we're not spending so much time at the end writing long punch lists. So that's something we prioritize in all our projects, and it really is a useful tool.
So next we're going to move into post-construction real quick. We just feel it's important for us to emphasize that we're not just here for construction and then we're gone. And then by we, I mean Josh and I as well. We're going to be here in post-construction, and you can see the bullet points on the screen, but I'll just kind of talk. Our general overview for our closeout process begins when we're maybe 25% of the way into construction. We start assembling a master list, all the closeout items required by the design team, but also anything that we feel is necessary or anything that the district feels is necessary and should be added. And then when we're roughly 50% of the way into the project, we'll actually issue these out to our contracting partners. We'll start collecting O&Ms because those you can gather before the end of the job. And then at the end, we'll really kick it into gear with warranties and as-built. But everybody already knows what's coming. We're very upfront about it. They've been looking at it for a few months. Then we'll also make sure that all the training required happens and any additional training that the district needs, building engineers desire. And then number 4 there is important to us. It's important to you as well. We know that nobody wants the financial aspect of this to drag out for years either. So we really push to wrap up the financial end of that, get final billings in, close everything out as quickly as possible. And then number 5, warranty walkthroughs. If a project typically has a 1-year overall warranty, we'll do an 11-month inspection, basically 1 month before the main project warranty expires. We'll walk through everything. Josh and I will be very detailed, very picky, so to say, on what we're looking at, make sure that anything that should be a warranty item is corrected at that time. And of course, we'll have all of you with us as well.
Yep. And then we get to the exciting part, the owner move-in, which is one of my favorites because I get to see the project all done and furniture moved in. Part of this is 90% of our projects, we assist with this with our own labor, just because we understand at the end of these projects, your staff is stressed, and along with the project, you can stress them even more, so as far as labor-wise goes. So we're here to assist in any way we can.
We wanted to take just a few moments to talk through a few opportunities for value-add services that we can offer up in-house. We are really proud to say that we believe that we are leaders in the area of technology and innovation. We have a lot of leading-edge technologies in-house, but I do want to assure you that our goal is not to just throw technologies at these projects because they're cool and innovative. The only time we apply these technologies or offer them up or suggest them is if there is a true benefit to your project and if it's going to help in some way. So I'm going to go through just a few options options that we have. The first one I'm going to start with is coordination and clash detection. Within my department, we kind of call this our bread and butter, and the reason for these projects that we would suggest coordination is because of the mechanical and electrical work that is going on. This would allow us to not only work with Bray Architects to use their 3D models, but also leverage our subcontractors, bringing us all together, allowing us to collaborate early on before they actually get on site. What this does is it allows all of them to know exactly what they're coming into. They know what's existing in the space, they know what's going into the space and how to work around everything, and that makes it so when they arrive on site, it's a seamless install. They can be more efficient and there's no conflicts that we didn't already foresee when we were coordinating in the 3D environment. So we would strongly suggest this for all of the projects based on the mechanical and electrical work. The next option I want to talk through is our drone capabilities. I will go back to them so you can see the example. One moment. So our drone capabilities, we actually have roughly a dozen licensed commercial pilots at Knutson that can fly on commercial sites. The reason we recommend this service for your team is because not only can we do some pretty intense things like thermal scanning anytime we're doing roof work to make sure there's no thermal leaks, your envelope's secured and tight, but we can also do some really fun things like progress photos and project updates. Not only is it super fun for the students and the community, but bringing it to board meetings, bringing it to your stakeholders, doing things like that to show an example of what's on the screen of how these projects are progressing as we go. The last example I would like to talk through is reality capture. On the left-hand side is an example of a software that we use called Struction Site. It is very similar to MultiVista, which some of you may be familiar with, and is somewhat of a competitor or standard. We actually have the ability to do Struction Site in-house, and the reason we recommend that is not only does it allow us to be on-site regularly capturing the conditions of the project, but it allows us to work with Josh and Landon to make sure we're capturing the best things for your team to document. This is on-site walks that we do with a 360-degree camera. You get all that data at the end of the project that we can turn over to you, and us having the ability to do that means we're able to capture more frequently. On the right-hand side is our Matterport technology. We know that you're familiar with Matterport technology based on the fact that there's been Matterport scans at the schools, but we would like to recommend that we continue that service, not only to continue to document pre-demo work to make sure that our team has all the information at their fingertips, but also to do that through construction. One of the most valuable times that we've found to use the Matterport is for in-wall documentation. So that little circle that you see on the bottom right-hand side, this also speaks to our quality control. We're able to go in, work with Josh and Landon to come in after everything is installed in the walls, but before the walls are actually closed. We can then hand that over to your facilities team, and you have that long-term. Now you can reference that 5 years down the line when you want to mount a new monitor and you don't want to hit a line that's closed up in that wall. So it's really a huge value add to your team to be able to have that information at your fingertips for the foreseeable future. So all of these are things that we truly believe would provide great value to these projects. We're proud of these and we think it all adds to the experience that we can give you when we turn these projects over. And if you're interested in any or all of them, this is something that we'd be more than happy to provide pricing and proposals on.
All right, I know we're wrapping up on time or running a little over, so I'm the last slide. So what I want to talk about here is these tools and topics that we've been talking about today, along with our people, really boils up to what we call the Knutson experience. And this slide represents really the 4 customers that we focus on to make sure they feel assured, inspired, and appreciated. And this is really the experience that we want all these stakeholders to feel when they work with Knutson. And it doesn't mean we're not going to face challenges. But what it does mean is when we do face a challenge, we're going to work together as an absolute team to find a way to work towards solutions. How it shows up in our decisions and actions is that we'll not prioritize our own success, financial or otherwise, ahead of the overall success of the project. I mean that sincerely. We've been in business 100 plus years. We want to be in business for the next 100 plus years, and that's our commitment to you on this project. Our primary goal is to make sure it gets built and managed correctly, regardless of what it takes. So on behalf of our project team, our leadership team, we thank you for the consideration to partner on this project, and we'll gladly open it up to any questions that you may have.
So two short questions that sort of play hand in hand. In Minnesota, the owner sees all bids for all work scopes on bid day. In a sealed bid opening, will our experience be the same? And secondly, if we select your firm, who will own or have final approval of the contingency funds use?
if I heard the question correctly, the first one was, will you get to see the bids on bid day?
opening, yep.
Yeah, if that's the district's preference, by all means. A lot of what Landon was showing with the bid leveling and everything, this is all open book, so that's pretty commonplace for us to do this in an open book manner, so that's not a problem. And it was, remind me the second question?
If we select your firm, who will own or have final approval on contingency fund use?
Oh, sure. I mean, we can work that out as a project team. We've done it a number of different ways. A lot of times, the clients want to monitor and track the use of contingency for all the obvious reasons. That's pretty common for us as well, so we keep a list of potential contingency items, and then part of our weekly meetings is reviewing, you know, here's the cost issue, here's what it's all about, it's legit, we need to spend the contingency, so it happens. So there's a whole approval process we can do if we want to do that.
Who owns the contingency, though?
Oh, who owns it? Normally, we have, in our estimates, we'll include a X% of construction contingency that we would hold in our contract. And then, you know, at a higher level, I presume the district would also hold a contingency as well. But that's normally what we see. I don't know if you want to add to that at all.
I would just say ultimately, I mean, this entire project is being utilized with your funds, so we'll absolutely go to you for approval of our contingency dollars.
Thank you. If you could you explain how you will work in partnership with Bray Architects to support the district during all phases, pre-construction, bidding, construction, and warranty closeout?
Sure. Kurt, maybe you want to take the pre-construction portion, and then I can talk about the construction.
Sure, we've got a highly collaborative process. You know, sometimes when we work with different firms, it almost feels like an adversarial type relationship. I don't think that's successful for anyone, Bray Architects, Knutson, or the district. Again, you know, like Scott said, that isn't part of the TKA experience and what we really push forward with respect to philosophy. So I would expect to work very closely with Matt and his team and you know, work to resolve issues at the lowest level.
Yeah, and I'll just add, I mean, kind of to reinforce that, during the pre-construction process, our intention is to attend all the various design meetings throughout, right? If we don't do that, then this real-time estimating process that Kurt presented on doesn't work. So we need to do that. We're volunteering to do that. We want to be involved. That sort of project delivery mentality kind of kicks off the teamwork aspect from the very get-go on the project in pre-construction, and then that just simply carries through construction. I mean, obviously, we'll do all the normal things you would expect of a major construction project with weekly meetings, other one-off necessary meetings to coordinate and whatever. But it's, yeah, kind of like Kurt mentioned, we're really intending to bring a partnership philosophy to the whole project. Scott's final slide on the Knutson experience is meant to sum that up. We have those 4 boxes: ourselves, subcontract partners, Bray Architects, and the district.
That's even true during the construction process. I plan on working with the design team closely, and we both we're going to work for Hudson, right? So even changes, and we know changes made, it'll be collaborative between the design team, suggestions made. If there's a challenge, we'll help overcome it together. We'll come up with ideas, and again, just reiterating that this is a partnership, a team, and that's how our part of our philosophy. You know.
Thank you for the presentation. You did, Kurt, touch on kind of market fluctuations and how you deal with that as far as costs. And so I thought I'd combine this with another question that we have is, can you name a time that maybe there was a fluctuation that you weren't expecting, and maybe there was a hurricane and prices changed elsewhere? That's just what I have in my head, but what was that like? What happened, and how did you resolve that?
Sure. I think there's budget challenges in every project. Schools, you know, are traditionally underfunded, in my opinion. So there's always budget constraints that we're bumping up against. But I think you're asking specifically for one item, maybe that was like an unforeseen condition, or wasn't perhaps through the diligence and best efforts of the design team and the builder. I think that one of the struggles that we've had recently was really obtaining some major pieces of equipment and dealing with some of those shortages that were also due to wild swings in commodity prices. The logistics of projects in the last couple of years certainly has been a challenge, and it's something that we haven't experienced significant to the significance over the last 20 years specifically. So I think that there's one example would be on one of the hospital projects that we were doing. The mechanical units were a number of months out, and unfortunately that major mechanical, those major mechanical components were pushed out some additional duration. We actually had to pivot, and we worked to get some temporary units and things like that, and worked to revise the schedule and the phasing so that we got as close to the pin with respect to budget and also schedule for that repeat client that we worked with. So.
Okay, so you kind of took care of forward with that. I was going to ask a question, the standard boilerplate about, tell us about a project that didn't go so well. You already gave us the spaghetti of wires and the fire stuff. We all learn from mistakes. That's what makes us better.
That was one of the items on that project. We had many, and that's where, and I can relate to, we worked on projects just that, it was another project recently that we ran into way more asbestos-containing material than what we anticipated. So right off the bat, I had that scheduled for 5 days. It took 25 days. We were able to work with the design team, move forward. We brought it up to school right away. And the biggest thing is transparency. We don't lie. If there's something good, we're going to tell you. If there's something bad, we're going to tell you right away so we can pivot. So we're able to move phases onto another part of the school. We helped them move out. So we're able to keep production moving forward, even though that one area that we couldn't. We had to pause back for 25 days until the abatement was done. So, and that's pretty common. We probably will run things like that on these projects, just because.
It's happened before.
Just because it happened, especially in these older buildings. So, yeah. So
Also, just to tag on to that, as far as you had mentioned the project dashboard, and I think, did you say that was available for public use too, or is that pretty much?
It's totally an in-house. It's a Microsoft BI dashboard that we created. It's whatever you want it to be.
Have you used it with public before?
We're using it with St. Louis Park Public Schools right now. Correct me if I'm wrong, they are using it for their board meeting updates. I guess I don't know for sure if they're linking that to public record or not. Do we know?
Plan on bringing it to the
Do they? Okay.
Okay, thank you.
So can you explain it, differentiating characteristics, skill, or unique area of expertise that sets you apart from construction managers? What you might be considering?
Sure. I'm kind of thinking technology. I might turn this one over to Leah.
So some of the value add services we talked about are a big part of Knutson. Our innovation and technology is something that we really push for. I know I talked about a lot of value add services, but one thing that I didn't hit on is we are involved even in the services that we're not promoting you to add on. A really good example of it is those site logistics images. So we're always looking for ways to be innovative in how we're delivering to you. So all of those maps we created, those were hand sketched by my wonderful teammates here. However, they think in construction minds, and not everybody thinks like that. So our job is to find innovative ways to communicate that to your team. Finding graphics and logistics that we can give to students, we can give to staff. So I think just using those tools that we have, whether it's laser scanning and drones, or something as silly as taking a logistics image, making it pretty, and giving it to a student that they can actually understand where they can and can't go. We really push the envelope in that way and try and be as creative as we can with solutions to problems as they come up, and be proactive in how we're handling those as well.
Kind of a follow-up to Jamie's question. So whether it be the Matterport software or the drones, Are those all additional fees, or are those built into your fee proposal?
So the ones we listed up there would be additional. The example I talked about with the site logistics, that's included. I'm not gonna, we won't charge you for that. But the ones we listed would be additional. We do have a large toolbox of tools that we could continue to suggest. Those are the ones that we see the most fitting for your projects that we could talk through the pricing of.
I don't think Dustin deserves those in-wall images in the future. I don't think he wants.
They're nice.
Well, and I'll just tack on to that too. They're additional, but we have to be careful when we're doing project pursuits. We don't always know what the client really wants. I mean, you could go full boat virtual design and construction and do all that stuff, which would be fantastic, right? But every project's different. What you want to get out of it at the end of the day is different. So, you know, it needs to be discussed further and probably better directed. What are we looking for, right? If we really want an as-built record of what's in the wall, let's talk about that. If that's really important to the district, then let's talk about that. But maybe we don't need a drone flyover for a small addition, you know? So that's why we brought it up, because we feel some of those things are useful, but we never know exactly how much is desired.
So thank you. I'm curious, given what you know about our project and the 3 buildings you'd be working in, what about it kind of is the most exciting? Where do you think there's the most opportunity to really knock it out of the park? And what about that, as you were putting this together, maybe caused some trepidation? What might be of the most concern?
Sure. Josh, do you want to take that one?
Sure.
You're the one who gets the most excited
Yeah,
about all
right.
this, right?
Yeah, question of construction, that's always the exciting part. So, just right up, we'll start with the little bit of hesitation. Is at first glance, you look at the amount of work and what it does has to be done in those few months, right? And then you look at, also what's going to be the impact to the district, to the teachers, to the staff. That's a little bit, but honestly, we're very confident in this one. And the exciting part is, again, that turnout, we get this work done in that much of time. We do a quality project. I love going through these corridors. We take it apart. We're finding challenges. And honestly, I think that's where we thrive. We work with our partners, get them done. And then when we find something like that and we accomplish it in speed of time, that's really satisfying, right? And then we lead down to the best part is, like with the elementaries, the middle schools, those spaces, we're going to renovate them. They're going to be nice or nice designs. Actually, the most exciting part is watching the kids come and watching the staff for the first days coming to these buildings, and it's refreshed, it's painted, and so that's, they're really exciting projects, and I'm really excited to get a chance to work with them too. So, in my mind, it's, you know, the most challenging projects are the most fun for me, and this team, we've been through quite a few challenging projects, so we kind of have the experience now, so.
I don't think anyone asked this one. We went out of order a little bit. Thinking about a K-12 project that's similar to ours, can you think about one where something in the process didn't go well, and what you would have done differently looking back?
I can think of an example. We worked on a project, and this was, you know, it was a long time, it was a while ago, but we looked at some, in areas, Mark, you know what I'm talking about, was finding some plaster ceilings above,
yeah.
an acoustical ceiling that wasn't clear necessarily in the drawings, it wasn't clear on the pictures we seen. That had to turn around and really react quickly in that. But again, those challenges that we faced, we all put in kind of our toolbox, and we checked. That's why now with the 2 summer slams, that's why we feel that's the most opportune to also have time to pause in between there and really do some more research and development. So.
Yeah, so that's a good example, Josh. So the issue was we got into the SummerSlam work, and there were unforeseens above a existing ceiling that were unforeseen, and caused a lot of challenges. So Monday morning quarterbacking that thing, the lesson learned was, well, why didn't anyone go in here and pop these tiles out and do some destructive testing during a spring break or whatever to get this right? Why is this a surprise now? So, I mean, that was a little bit of a learning curve, I would say. I mean, that's something that we should be leading. That is something, I mean, really between us and the design team should be co-led, right, as the design progresses. So I think that was probably the learning moment on that one, or the takeaway from that one. You know, again, we had to pivot, work together as a team to solve that solution, which we did, which was great, but that's a good example of a challenge that could have been
Normally,
prevented.
we have that flexibility of that, right, the authorization to do an investigating with the design team. In this case, it was a little bit different structure, so we weren't able to get into some of the areas that we would have liked to. So knowing that, we would push more for that opportunity.
Thank you.
Mr.
So,
President,
go ahead, Rob.
just one last quick question. So under the CMR contract being proposed, will you guarantee full visibility to subcontractor and supplier proposals for change orders?
Yes.
So in looking at fee proposals, the board hasn't gotten them yet, but as we've reviewed them administratively, the architects, we got them on Monday. In reviewing, you said hypothetical number 2 is kind of the option you think, which is 2 summer slams. So if I understand this correctly, on this project, you're essentially planning on, according to the proposal, is it 3 senior superintendents, 3 project managers, and 4.5 assistant project managers?
No,
For the
I'll
project?
clarify. I don't know if you can get back to that or not. Yeah, so very specifically, you have me as a senior project manager. We have Landon as he's a project manager. And then working with him directly are 2 project engineers. So project engineers at Knutson are 0 to 5 years experience type people, so kind of entry level, but not quite.
Yep.
And then a project coordinator. And then on the superintendent side, we have Josh as superintendent. Then we have 1 assistant superintendent. So that's more of a junior level to Josh. And then a general foreman. So 3 field personnel. I'm hoping I'm answering this
Well,
question.
it just looked like, at least as it was kind of built together, it looks like the senior site superintendent is billing out at $34,000 a month.
Oh, okay.
And so, and even the assistant superintendents are billing out at $24,000 a month.
Sure,
If
I
there
guess
really is only 1 of each. So that's, it's a lot. It seems like quite a bit, considering all the other things are also adds at the bottom. That was why I was just curious. And maybe that's just what they bill out at, or,
And it could be, I think, looks like Kurt's pulling out the,
Yeah, if you give me a second here, I can pull out
The
the
details.
proposal that we sent.
I do know on the staffing plan, those 3 field personnel are all budgeted at 100% time.
yeah.
Just for clarity.
But is it at 100% time at each, that's why it just looked like it was the same exact amount on each side. so
It's
that's
not
why-
intended to be 100% time,
So,
like at all 3, right? So it's 100% time for the total duration of the project for each one of those people.
okay. And then is there, I guess the other piece that I would ask is there either, in your opinion, you know, we do 2 summer slams versus potentially try to go, you know, start next summer and go until it's done? Do we pay a premium on both labor and product by pushing so much stuff to the second year because of construction inflation? And is it possible to get, you know, instead of it obviously getting done in 6 months, is it more like 9 months if you have to go through the school year versus, or how do you guys look at that, I guess? Because 18 months seems a little bit excessive to do in any one building $12 million worth of work, with the bulk of
Agreed.
it being HVAC.
Yeah, agreed, and I think too, you guys can elaborate on this if you want, but
Yeah.
kind of to what these guys went through for the hypothetical number 1, which is the 18-month one. We feel there's going to be so many inefficiencies with that because of the limited space we can get into.
Yep.
Throughout the school year, that there's cost premiums that come with that sort of stuff. And yeah, that's gonna kind of kick back more work happening later. To Tier, you make a good point. Every year in construction that we wait, we do have inflate. It always it's never not costed less
Yeah.
in construction, right? So you can guarantee it's gonna go up. The unknown's how much, right?
But we'd lock them in when we contract.
Yeah, when we lock in, we would, lump sum contracts.
But they would just
but
kind of build it into their initial bid that, hey, we're not doing this work. until
They
the
need to,
following-
yeah.
Yep.
Contractually, they would have to.
Yep.
Yep.
And kind of add to that, we'd be looking at, we wouldn't have avail, sort of efficiency would be way down on if we're working and occupied. One, two is, even work with some building official or fire marshals, that thing that's frowned upon, or we could work with that. We'd be disrupting through the classes. We'd probably have to do a lot of night work. Our shutdowns would probably have to be at night. So therefore, too, you'd be having inflated costs
Well-
per hour as well.
Yeah, and I suspect the right answer, for whoever you select for this project is somewhere in between. Right? I think there's probably gonna be some opportunities during school session for some areas to be remodeled.
Right.
And, right, to take what we're gonna wanna look at, whoever you select, is trying to take pressure off the summer slam.
Yep.
Right, to increase your chances of success, basically.
Yep, nope, that makes total sense.
I'm not used to microphones. In the fee proposals, did you assume kind of lighter staffing? It's hard to tell from the monthly, but, so for when we're just doing the small addition at North Hudson and EP, let's say March through June, is that the same team at both of those sites? Are we literally gonna have a project engineer, a project manager, an assistant project manager, a superintendent, a foreman for, I don't know, $4 million worth of construction going on? Or do we adjust our staffing model for those months and then ramp it up for the summer?
I can start, you
Go ahead.
can add. At a high level, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, we took, our staff didn't change in either hypothesis, right? The reality, as far as when those people are putting said effort in, would certainly change. So I don't think we got into that much nuts and bolts. So we said, here's our staff to manage all of this work. More or less, it's all going concurrently in general terms. And so one's a 15-month duration, one's an 18-month duration, and split it out that way. Is that accurate?
Yeah, from a high level, that's accurate. So when we looked at this, what we did is on the hypothetical, timeline number 2, we did allocate more resources over the summer. So we stacked additional resources over the summer construction season or summer slam. And then obviously when there's less work just on, the couple of additions at North Hudson and the one addition for the secured entrance at EP Rock, the staff level and the number of hours put in still have decreased. Now, that doesn't mean that we're going to walk away from the site and not have anyone staffing, because we've guaranteed to you that we will have, full-time supervision at all times on the projects. But we did adjust that from a high level, yes. But
And also, you kind of included in your fee proposal, just to make sure I'm, understands. So since it would be CM at risk, you guys would be carrying the performance payment bonds, and all the subcontractors would be able to perform underneath your bond.
Correct, yeah.
So they
Yeah, we would
not
not,
need to add that to their bids.
yeah, we do not separately bond our subcontractors.
Okay.
yeah, we have a cost associated for payment of performance bonds, yes. So. It's 0.495% of construction cost. Which we feel is very competitive based on our 112-year history.
Oh, absolutely.
Yes, we don't have anything further. Appreciate you coming out with the presentation. Do you have any more?
I do not. Nope, I appreciate your time. If you guys have a closing, feel free.
We don't have a formal closing, but just, again, thanks for the opportunity. This is awesome to get to meet you guys. We're excited for the project and hope for the best. And I guess if you have follow-up questions, please let us know. We're happy to answer them, whatever's needed. So, thank you.
Yep, thank you.
Thank you.
Would you guys like a paper copy of the PowerPoint left behind you?
Sure. that'd be
Yeah,
great.
that would be helpful. I think that staffing model would be helpful to see in paper. Thank you.
All right. All right, we'll come back into order and have our second presentation tonight. Matt, you kicked off the last one. You want to go ahead and do it again?
Thank you, Jamie. My microphone is on, for the record.
Up is on.
Thank you, team. Good to see you guys. Thank you for coming in. Just a quick reminder, for about 40 to 50-minute presentation, and then the board does have some questions for you, which will take about 15 minutes as well. So we'll turn it over to you, and looking forward to the next 40 to 50 minutes.
All right. Well, first of all, thank you guys all for the opportunity. As you can see on the opening slide there, we have a long history with the Hudson School District, so exciting to have the ability to come back and potentially resurrect that relationship back that dated back to when we did the pool and elementary school projects many years ago. It was actually right when I first came to the company. So with that, we start with kind of a handful of background slides. We're really going to try to emphasize what we think makes a good partner with Market & Johnson and the Hudson School District. A little bit of background on the company, 75-year anniversary this year, so we're super excited, something we're very proud of. All of our focus is in western Wisconsin, eastern Minnesota, so offices in Eau Claire, La Crosse, and Stillwater. Randy runs our Stillwater office. He's going to talk about that here shortly. A couple unique things about Market & Johnson. We are very much a family-owned company, even though Dan Market's the last market, and on his way out, he's not really all that active anymore. So we've got 8 active owners, none of which are family members, but we still very much a family-based kind of company. So, so one thing unique that we do on all of our projects, we have owners actively involved with all of it. So something happens, you've got questions, you've got concerns, community member says something you don't know the answer. Nick, you got issues with the project team, anything like that, you got a direct conduit right to the ownership team. So both Casey and I are partners, and we'll get into that as well. A couple other little unique points about Market & Johnson. You know, I think all industries are facing labor shortages, and construction's no different, right? But in that vein, Market & Johnson's taken this great strides to be able to self-perform carpentry, concrete, and masonry. So we're a little bit different that way, where we have 350 employees here in western Wisconsin that do those construction professional trades. And it helps us in a lot of different ways. We'll talk about it during our pre-construction, when we're talking about phasing and collaborating with Bray Architects on how we're going to put this thing together. Our guys are coming from a background of experience, hands-on experience. And so our goal is to eliminate a lot of the roadblocks that our guys usually see in the field before it ever becomes an issue on paper. So a little bit about the team. Individually, my name's Jason Plant. I'm one of the partners. Like I said, I've been at Market & Johnson for 24 years. When we became partners back in 2010, we were the young guys, we were the newbies, and we were told not to screw it up. And now, I'm not even sure how, but somehow now we're the old guys, and the new guys are taking over and coming in. But I've been involved with almost all of our school projects, so we do tons of pre-referendum work. Obviously, you guys have passed that, but we take a lot of time and effort working with the architects, working with owners, helping develop projects, helping communicate to the community, and that's something that I've been involved with all the way through. So on your guys' project, obviously it's already passed, but one of my roles is to work with Randy and Casey and Randy, make sure the project kind of gets developed effectively right off the start, and then turning it over to the operations team to kind of get going, so.
Slide the mic over. All right, Randy LaFave. I am, as Jason said, I'm the division manager of our Stillwater office. I'll be the project lead, if you will, managing our office from the operations standpoint, as well as tagging in Casey from pre-construction. On a personal note, we lived in Hudson for the last 25 plus years. We've raised 3 kids that have gone through, started off at North Hudson, worked their way up, and we've got 1 left that I think will graduate this coming year, but on the ropes, yeah, a little bit.
Introduce myself here real quick. Casey Lemke, Director of Pre-Construction, also one of the partners of the firm. So I lead our pre-construction team. So our team behind the scenes is working with this staff up here. Selected for your project. So a lot of work behind the scenes prior to construction, and then obviously working with you guys as the owner group in the architectural engineering firm. So whether it's in-person meetings, Skype meetings, Teams meetings, doing a lot of constructability reviews and pre-construction activities. So
Leo Draveling. I'm the project manager. Been in Hudson for over 25 years and have that much experience in project management. I have 3 boys that are all, 2 have been through and graduated, and I still have one that's a junior, so.
Spencer Schmidt, currently an assistant project manager for Market & Johnson. Lived in Hudson majority of my life. Attended North Hudson Elementary, Hudson Middle School, and graduated from Hudson High School. I've been around the community quite majority of my life.
Kyle Bush, project superintendent. Been with Market for 6+ years. Currently working at the St. Croix Central Elementary School.
Good evening, Eric Knutson. I work out of the Eau Claire Market & Johnson office. I've been with Market & Johnson for 18 years, and 8 years of which I've been acting as superintendent.
And the other 3 gentlemen you see on the screen that could not be here today, Denny Kelly is one of the other project superintendents, will be leading the effort at the North Hudson Elementary. He's on his last day of vacation, so we thought we'd just let him keep on with that. Denny's been with us since the start of our Minnesota operations about 8 years ago. He's been along for the ride. Eric Knutson on the screen he's our director of QC, QA sort of thing, quality assurance, quality control. He really is an advocate for all of us here on this table in terms of any constructability concerns, any quality concerns. He's the first person we go to. And last but not least is Mark Larson. We are all here stewards of the safety efforts with Market & Johnson, but Mark really ties it all together corporately and makes sure we're following the procedures, is really an advocate for our subcontractors as well, and make sure they're following the same procedures, whether it's OSHA or M&J. So good, solid team for you. Oh yeah, and it's me. This collage of pictures of some good-looking kids and some ugly-looking kids. All of us here at the table have kids throughout the programs. You know, for me personally, it's kind of funny to sit here and think that Spencer down at the end of the table is a graduate with my daughter, and he's working for us. So it's great. It's fun to see it in full circle. But you can tell by this picture that we're all part of the community, have been part of the community for a long, long time.
Yeah, then the one, even though she's not an active employee at Market & Johnson, Dan Market's daughter, Heather, or Heidi, I'm sorry, Heidi and Ryan are members of the Hudson community, and their kids attend Hudson's school district as well. So thought we'd start out with a little bit of experience. We're going to go through a bunch of different type of Apple experience areas. So the first one is kind of experience in the Hudson area. So being our focus in western Wisconsin, we've got tons of it. But what's really cool is we've already worked with the city of Hudson, the county of Hudson. It'd really be awesome to get back and work with the largest public school district here in town here. So we've also highlighted some other projects in there. It's of note, we're working at the Hockey Association right now. Leo's running that project. Phillips Metasize is probably the single biggest project that the city of Hudson's completed. Super intense, super fast tracked, some unique areas there. Casey and I worked on that one together. But there's a lot of collaboration with the city there, the city fire officials and all that to get pre-occupancy before occupancy in order to get all the equipment set and to get them operational in time. So a lot of collaboration on the city level on that one. Got a couple exciting projects that aren't up there that we're going to be doing in 2024. Working with the St. Croix County Food Bank on their project, and also working with the city on a new public works facility. So lots of cool stuff happening right here in town, but in the region, we also do a lot in the university kind of higher ed market as well. So we're doing a bunch of work at the River Falls campus for Chippewa Valley Technical College, and we are the selected contractor for the new science building at UW River Falls. So hopefully as you drive around this small chunk of western Wisconsin, you're going to see lots of Market & Johnson trailers and employees throughout the next 2 years here. Next area where I wanted to highlight is just our strong western Wisconsin school experience. So as that pops up, he's trying.
I just can't believe that hockey rink is going to get done.
You asked Leo, pin it down. Hey, we got some hockey guys here. It's going to get done. It's going to get. If it was a basketball court, it might not, but it's going to get done. But all right, on the school experience end of things, and hopefully our animation works there. We really want to just highlight we do Wisconsin schools, right? That's what we do. It's one of our biggest markets. Between schools and hospitals, that is really the core of what Market of Johnson does. Over the years, we've worked for over 72 school districts in western Wisconsin. You know, so it accounts for between 40 to 50% of our annual revenue. Like I said earlier, we do lots of pre-referendum works. We're at every aspect of things. But when you think of western Wisconsin, there's not a ton of brand-new greenfield school sites that happen, right? So almost all of our experience is similar to your guys', where it's additions and really intense remodels, and we're going to go through a bunch of those phasing experience, kind of renovation experiences, the next couple slides as well. Another good stat that you'd like to see is 85% of our projects in the education market end up being repeat customers. So, and then currently, quick rattle them off: Prescott, Somerset, St. Croix Central, Spring Valley, Sparta, Torma, Norwalk, Ontario, Melrose, Mindoro, Eau Claire School District's $98 million referendum, Abbotsford, Luck are all current projects that are either in construction or going through the pre-referendum phases. So, like I said, school is what we do. It's in our blood. It's stuff that we've been doing really intensely for a long time. Wanted to touch base. I think the partnership is really key. So collaborating between the three entities, us, the school district, and Bray, is important. We're super proud of our relationship with Bray. So it costs a lot, but we got people to say really good things about Matt and his team and Market and Johnson. But a couple projects we highlight there. Read through the quotes. You know, when I went through the quotes, a couple key words that jumped out to me that just, I think, resonate the partnership between Bray and Market and Johnson is collaborative, seamless, easy to work with, flexible, and the one that really stands out to me is enjoyable. I think when you go through intense construction projects, it's easy to point fingers. It's easy to remember the pain points, but it really should be enjoyable, because at the end of the day, you know, we're going to create something that we're extremely proud of. Bray's designing something we're really proud of, and you guys, as stewards of the community's money, are developing something that the community is going to rally around and be pillars for the community. So, super proud of our relationship with Bray and the success that we've had there. On the renovation side of things, we're going to talk a lot about the complexity of phasing and what we bring to the table, but want to highlight just a handful of them here. All the St. Croix Central schools are kind of additions, remodel. The Johnson High School project, the reason that one's up there is almost all your school projects are really intense mechanical additions, remodels, renovation ports. Johnson High School is an intense, probably $20 million just mechanical upgrade. DeLong Middle School, one that we did with Bray, basically gut remodeled that entire school. Menominee Middle School, we gut and remodeled that whole thing during school. Up in Ashland, we had a really, really tough administrative team up there. They made us rip the roof off the IMC and get daylighting in there, so we worked collaboratively with that group to make that happen. So I think, you know, when you think about renovations, it really comes down to a couple key points, and I think that drives what we think are the three components that make Market and Johnson hopefully the right partner for you guys on your project here. The first is that phasing and scheduling expertise. I think that's really key. It comes down to our hands-on, our self-perform capability, and taking that expertise and bringing that to the pre-construction world and creating real-life solutions that's going to be applicable to the guys on the field. Budget's always key, right? So no matter what happens, you guys have a finite budget. There's no, secret pot of gold at the end. There's no raising price on a product or whatever to come up with more money. So Casey's going to talk about how we control budget and drive value there. And I think Leo mentioned it when he was talking about some of his stuff, but communication's key. So we're going to talk about some of that. So when we think about what makes us a little bit different, these are kind of three areas that resonate with us. So finally, I think my last one, we'll let the main guys talk. But when we talk about phasing, we're going to highlight just a couple highlighted ones. Then we're going to get into your project phasing as well. But a couple examples of some really difficult project phasing schedules. So I mentioned DeLong, the project we did with Bray. Eau Claire School District South Middle School is doing basically the exact same project this coming summer. It's basically gutting and remodeling 215,000 square feet of middle school, touching every aspect of it and doing it, during both summers, but also when kids are around. It's going to be tight. We're building temporary classrooms. We're doing everything to kind of make it as seamless as possible. But it's that kind of collaboration that's needed to make those kind of messy ones successful.
Somerset Schools was a good example of collaboration, in my opinion. We were tasked with trying to get 3 schools done not in 2 summers as originally planned, but to condense them into 1. So really what that meant was we had to work collaboratively with the design team and the owner to ensure things were done. Everything was, put in place in the right order to make sure it got completed on time. And this was right when the pandemic started as well, so it was a really critical path for us. But I got a couple examples up here on the board that will be utilized to really keep folks on task. The one on the left is a milestone schedule. It's really, it's really simple, but it keeps everybody in line in terms of what dates we promise each other, when we're gonna have plans, when they're gonna hit the street to go out to bid. So we all, again, understand what's at stake. And the second is, on the right side is, we want to help the districts. In that case, we took the bull by the horns and took the moving of equipment and furniture, went out and got bids on it, and created a schedule to get the stuff out and bring it back in the fall.
So Prescott Schools, I'm currently running that. This project is very similar to the scope that Hudson is doing. It's one picture up there, that's intermediate school. We're also doing the middle and elementary. And like I said, the scopes are really similar. This is a messy project. This could have been on the first slide as renovation experts. As you can see, there's a lot of color there. 10 phases basically in this project over 2 summers. It's got similar scopes, like I said, to Hudson, but then you can see, like, we started with STEM rooms back in spring break, and now, we're into the summer, so we're taking care of the classrooms and the kitchen, and it's just bringing it all in on time. It's a challenge, but we're definitely going to meet it.
So the second kind of attribute that we think sets us apart is our ability to control cost. And so this slide really talks about a lot of different aspects of things, but really the graphic on the right, obviously whether you select us or Knutson, somebody's going to have some fees, somebody's going to have some, going to get paid, right? So the little area in red, the red is the red. So our area of focus really is the blue, right? That's where we can drive value. That's where we can have the biggest bang for the buck. And so we really spend a lot of our time trying to create opportunities for savings, kind of create opportunities to enhance your projects by focusing on those things. A lot of that comes from our ability to self-perform. So as we're going through working with Matt and his team on design, and Casey's doing budgeting, and we're talking about opportunities, a lot of that's coming in, like, how are our guys framing up walls in the field? How does that work, and making that correlate with the drawings effectively, so that whether it's our guys doing it or through the bid process, the subcontractors doing it, the plans that they're getting on the field are the most efficient to build. So our ability to drive costs is really focused on kind of the project cost and trying to drive as much value opportunities that we can right there.
I'll jump in on this slide here. So cost is near and dear to my heart. We take full responsibility from that and roll up our sleeves and do what it takes to get it done and drive to the cost that we got to hit at the end of the day. So on this slide, this will show you the traditional design stages as we go along. So starting on the left, across the top in blue, that's where you're starting off with your conceptual space programming, then into your design development. As details keep hitting the plans through the meetings, things sort out, then eventually you move to the right and you hit 100% construction documents. So along the way, those are our key milestones of where we need to draw a line in the sand and see where we're at with a cost standpoint. So you're in the know at all times during design. So going across, we're going to do a budget up front, budget as we go with this schematic design, DD, and then towards the very end at the final completion of the set of documents. And that's where we establish our guaranteed maximum price. So, and at any time, if there's other options that priorities change that we got to price up, we do that, right? This is our minimum standard process of four traditional pricing that we got to do along the way. And as we get into the details of it, we were talking about options. Maybe we're evaluating systems or materials or different means and methods. This is just a cost consideration list, value engineering list. 3 simple steps, right? We're going to come up with an extensive list. What are those topics? What are those items that we got to address? We're going to assign the cost to them. talk to you guys about them, bring in the AE team as well. It's a collaborative approach. We'll have our guys there, all three of us, all three parties need to talk about them. And from there, we decide which ones we want to accept, reject, bad ideas take off the table. Maybe we want to defer them, table it. Maybe some of them are going to be bid day alternates, and we want to note those on the plans and have some opportunities after bid, and we want to see where the final costs come in at. So that's discussed all along the way too as well, and we try to keep that well documented so you guys have full transparency of the discussion.
Another key task we use during the pre-construction process, and as before it even starts, is really identifying the sole source procurement process. We look at it as a three-step piece. One is identify who you currently use in your schools. Automated logic was used discussed during the walkthroughs that we did. There's probably furniture vendors, there's flooring products maybe you buy. We want to identify what those are, identify if they're truly where they're at with their service and warranties, if we're going to use them or not. And then the step two is really to engage those folks, right? Get them in, utilize them during the pre-construction, understand more as to what their lead times, what their restraints might be. And then three, give them along for the ride, right? We want to make sure that whatever they're providing us for pricing, we also utilize a benchmark that we have from a lot of history on a lot of projects that we can evaluate if that price is indeed in line with where it should be at the end of the day. MEP assessment, which is mechanical, electrical, plumbing, really has three major components. One is to work closely with the design team. This is, again, a collaboration piece. This is a very complex mechanical, electrical project. We want to make sure we work closely with the engineers and our contractors to develop a really good, solid program as we move through design and the budgeting piece. As part of that, we want to make sure that their budgets they provide us during the entire history of pre-con is effective, right? It's very good, detailed budgeting that coexists with the design phase, and we understand what they may or may not know at this time and how we calculate that during the pre-construction phase. And the last is just the engagement piece, right? There are many ways to skin the cat, as they say, to get a contractor on board. You can wait until the bid documents are done, and you can select a series of people from that. You can have those people involved in a design assist approach, which is you hire them earlier before the design documents are 100% done, and they themselves become the engineer / contractor through the process.
So I guess if I fast forward to after the design is complete, that would lead us into the formal public bidding process. I imagine we could have an environment such as this when bids are due. We would have them due here publicly, whether they're sealed envelopes or a Hudson email address that could be submitted electronically. From there, we'll organize everything, categorize everything into nice creative bid packages where we're not limiting who can submit on the individual bid packages and scopes of work. And it's dependent on the lead times that we have and the equipment that we got to do up front. And I think one unique thing about M&J and where we're at geographically is the contractors that we have and the reputation and the partnership that we have with them. We have a lot of people on this side of the river that love working with us over here, and I think that's really going to benefit for you guys on the Hudson School project too. So I think that's a unique process, and I think we'll have great results at the end of the day, 100% transparent and open book for you guys to review as well. This slide, this is representing the project savings. I think this shows you our track record of what we have. It's exactly that. It's savings at the end of the day. It's not cost overruns and large change orders that are unforeseen above and beyond. So after bid time and bids come in, we get to a price. That's what we're locked in at. And the blue at the tail end there represents, and these are, I believe, are all school examples in other districts there. of projects, project savings and unused funds at the end of the day that we're able to give back. So our ability to control cost, I think with our team is top notch, so.
So, communication is key. That's correct. Good communication is key to a successful project. And some of those are what's listed here and just taking those down and talking on them. Critical path schedule, we're going to identify what we need for the schedule to bring it in on time and be able to have everything to work together within the phasing. The 5-week look ahead, it's a tool that we use. We project that out, what's going to be going on a month from now, more than that. From that, then we use our weekly work plans, and that's where we really focus on what's going on this week, what's going to go on next week. That really helps you also, depending on what you got going on at your buildings, right? We communicate that and we can work together. The focus on long lead items, I can't stress in this day and age how important that is. With things, getting delayed, long leads, we are always checking with contractors, seeing, what's gonna fall out of bed. What do we need to shore up? What kind of options do we need to come up with? It's gonna happen, and we just prepare for it. And lastly, better communication with subcontractors. I guess to comment on that, right now, like I said, I'm working on the Prescott schools. It is basically a cookie cutter almost of what you're doing, the same aspects. So I already got a kind of a roadmap for that right now. And I have the subcontractors, they're all local, have good relationships with them, both in the field and in the office, and we work seamlessly together. So I have a good rapport with them. M&J has a good track record with them, so we'll have the successful contractors to have a successful project. Communication, again, it is critical. 2 slides, that's why it's important. But this is a daily activity this is one of my main jobs, right? The daily huddles, they have it on site, but also have it with design team. I'll have it with ownership, I'll have it with your stakeholders, I know you got the whole community that you have to report to. So, I know that you need that information. So communication, the daily communication is so important. Weekly coordination meetings, this is one of my favorites. That's actually the on-site progress meeting. I come out every week. Every site will have a meeting. We have our list, we go through it, and we check it off. And, that's our to-do list for the week to get it done. Whatever communication has to happen, that's what we do. The monthly executive meeting, I just had one of these last week with Prescott. This can be a high-level meeting, go over certain topics, subjects, whatever we need, whatever's important. But then also we'll discuss budget. And we can get into the weeds on that if you want, but that's something that we do. We track it. We have a really good way of tracking it, showing dollars spent and dollars not spent, projecting where we're going to go with it. Board meetings, we can attend them as needed. I can get you the information that you need for more board meetings because I know you got, a lot of people that you got to report to. I just did it tonight. Prescott had one and had to get the superintendent down there some information. Procore 24/7 project communication. That's just a great tool that we use. I don't know if you're familiar with it or not, but it's a great tool. You all have access to it. You can see what's going on with the project. Our notes are stored in there, photos are stored in there. It's just a great tool for project management. Drone and video update. We have that capability. If we need drones, we can do that. We do that in-house. Also, if we need Ox Blue for security or just to see what's going on the site, definitely we can include that in. And leadership tours. If you want to come out to Hudson Hockey, I will give you one because I've been giving them here regularly. So no problem giving tours. Like to do it. So.
So here's an example of a weekly progress report that us superintendents send out. So the current week, you'll pretty much label all the subs and what they completed for a task that week, and then the upcoming week, it's what's expected or what they said they were going to do. It's just kind of showing everybody what's expected, what's going to be done, what is done. The outstanding items, you could put long lead times or RFIs or something that isn't answered, just so everybody's aware. It's also followed with pictures of some of the things that were labeled in the current week that was completed, so hopefully that would help.
I guess to add on to these two, these have oftentimes been useful tools to, we talk about engaging with the community and transparency. These are really easy to read, really detailed. As you see, it's got some pictures in there. It's a good way to reach out to the community, either via bulletin or if you've got a web page. We've seen a lot of customers do that. It's just a good way to stay involved with the community.
So we want to highlight a little bit of our quality control. So I think one of the things we're proud of is our reputation in the marketplace of being kind of a high quality, high service provider. And it starts with a really proactive, really engaged quality control team. So we mentioned Eric Hayden and his team being active in.
Did I touch the button? Sorry, Tim.
Very good.
Do I got to start over, or is it?
No, you're fine.
All right. Good.
From the beginning.
Now, yeah,
From
now
the-
it's,
Slide one,
yeah.
please.
Now I'm flustered. I don't even know where I am though. So quality control is super engaged, right? Eric and his team. But really it's Kyle, Denny, and Eric, and they doing the day-to-day stuff on site. And it goes back again, I keep referencing our ability to self-perform, but when we talk about quality control, these guys have built those things in the field before. They know what it's supposed to be like. So even whether we're not doing it or if we are doing it, they got the first-hand knowledge to walk around that site and be like, hey, that wall's not right, or hey, this stone ledge isn't right, or whatever the scenario is, right? And because we are so proud of our quality control service and ability to drive that, there's a couple of key points we want to point out. One, obviously, roofs, windows, and all those types of things have a long lead, or have long warranty items, right? So they're 20-year warranties. But kind of the industry standard on everything else is a year. Market and Johnson is extending that to 2 years for the Hudson project here. So we'll take that, all the craftsmanship, workmanship, all those types of things, extend that to an extended 2-year warranty, kind of back up where, put our mouth where our money is, I guess. And then another cool thing that we have, especially being local, is each office has a special projects division. All they do is small projects. So if you wanted to move a door, if there was some cracking sidewalks, whatever it is, we hold that division of the company that's just dedicated to come and fixing those things. And the reason we do that is oftentimes when you're a big firm and we're focused on the big projects, it's hard to get people to pay attention to those little details. But those little details are important to all of our customers. So two little attributes that we have there. I think we're going to jump into your projects now.
Yeah, so the next series of slides, what they're going to show is it's a combination of things we received from our walkthroughs of the school. All of us have walked through the schools, taken the RFQ information, all the stuff that Bray has put together. So what you're going to see here laid out and presented by the team is what our envisionment of our interpretation of what the jobs are today. This is not, in stone. This is just our take on what we think is the best approach today. Spencer?
Yeah, we'll get started here with North Hudson Elementary. It's got the largest scope. It's got a little bit, additions, renovations of the full interior, and also mechanical upgrades. Being a North Hudson resident for most of my life, I know that during the summer, though the school may not be active with students, the community surrounding is very active with athletic fields surrounding it, community events, festivities. So one of the big important pieces of this project is going to be communication and in collaborating with the district to ensure we have a plan in place that meets the needs of not only the school but also the community and takes the safety of students and staff and community members into consideration to create that efficient construction process. Moving around here, we got construction fencing to ensure the facility and not only the school, but the site is secured, and also playground fencing to ensure that the students are safe and having a good time out on the playground. Also, being that it's in a residential neighborhood, construction traffic is going to be one of those items that needs to be monitored quite heavily.
North Hudson Elementary phasing plan. A lot of colors on this map. I think there's, 8 phases within this project. So this is, and that's first summer, it's spread over 2 summers. So just looking at that, right, you got 3 big projects within that first project that summer, the gym, the library, and then, I guess the renovation of the library, those additions and those big construction pieces. Along with that, we have to tie in the classroom renovations and the bathrooms. That is gonna take some work, just pulling that all together, making it come in on time. And then with that, then we turn right around and we get ready for the big MEP infrastructure update the following summer.
Getting into the preliminary project schedule, though, may be difficult to read. You can see 2024, we do plan to tackle a good portion of the work, starting when school has been released, get a jump on that gym addition, working to get it enclosed and work inside of it started for when students return. Also tackling the library expansion and with a target goal of getting that turned over shortly after school starts. With that, we'll also target classroom upgrades, corridor upgrades, and ensuring that the interior of the building is refreshed for when students return. Following that, we'll return in the 2025 summer to address all the mechanical, fire protection, electrical items that were not tackled in the first summer, largely just to ensure we have all the necessary equipment in place and received, so we're not waiting on anything during that tight summer month.
So here's the staging plan for EP Rock. As you can see, there's a lot of fencing because this school is right in the heart of the town. You can see the orange construction access. We would obviously try and keep everything to one side until we got to the addition. And then we would have everything barricaded, keep everybody out of that area, try and keep the school locked down, everybody safe. In the middle, we got staging, then an M&J. That's probably where we'd have our trailer, maybe a Connex box, faculty parking. That arrow going in there, we would try and separate maybe one-way traffic coming to our area and one-way traffic going into your area. Student drop-off, I don't know how critical that would be unless you guys had daycare in the summer, but we would keep that over there, shift it from where the construction fencing is under the secured entrance, and just try and keep everybody safe.
So EP Rock, I gotta admit, this is probably my favorite school because I spent a lot of time there. So this project, again, right, it gets a little messy. We're touching just about every corner of it. A lot of projects within a project. This, again, I think it has 6 or 8 phases, on the assumptions that we're making. But you can see, again, we have the secured entrance addition, and then the glass on this. I know from experience right now that's going to be a challenge to get that in. Just to line all that up and make it stage and phase right is going to be a challenge, right? And then also just the sheer amount of replacing the flooring, the casework, all of that, that's going to take some horsepower. It's going to take some good timing, some good subcontractors to bring it in on time. And then again, we're going to get this done. We're going to try and bring it in as close to school starting as we can with any major construction, have everything enclosed, safe for the kids. I know there's a lot of traffic here, between bus drop-off and parent pickup, and I know how this school operates. And then we got to turn around and do 2025 MEP upgrade.
Kind of looking at the schedule here, as Leo had highlighted with this phasing plan, it's going to be very consistent with North Hudson. We'd like to tackle that secured entry on the south side as soon as possible with goals to get that completed and buttoned up prior to school starting. It's a very, from experience, it's a very congested point of that campus with students being dropped off. So that's one of the, highlight hot topic items. The next would be following a similar path with North Hudson, focusing on refreshing the interior finishes, classroom upgrades, replacing the exterior envelope windows, and then, tackling and addressing those MEP items, fire protection items in the 2025 year when we have equipment secured and ready to go.
And what we're viewing here now is the Hudson Middle School site plan. This is a preliminary plan. As we know, the work is going to be taking place during summer. with the possibility of still some student traffic, we've outlined here a student drop-off on Plan West. And if you look Plan North, you're going to see we've got a temporary bus stop or bus drop-off location. There again, with safety in mind and the potential for theft and just securing items, we have a staging area in yellow that you'll notice. And that's really about all we have for this. We do have some faculty parking on Plan South. We have 2 locations where we would anticipate summertime faculty to park and parking for the baseball diamond and the field.
So this one should actually be labeled, "Don't let this one fool you." It's 2 stories to start with, right? Not that much color, right? So you think, oh, we'll be able to just go through this one. That's couldn't be further from the truth. With all the classroom upgrades that we have to do along with the bathrooms and just the flooring, it's gonna take a plan to put this together. I know we can do it. We're doing similar square footages right now. I know we have the team to do it, but this one will take some time to put together. And I know we can do it, but then we got to turn around again and do the 2025 upgrade. So that's, it's just going to be one continuous process going from one to the other.
So as Leo did highlight, don't let this one fool you. The schedule may seem a little bit shorter, however, there's just as much work going on. There's higher quantities, being 2 stories, there's a lot of classrooms, and just overall square footage. So our approach would be in that initial year of 2024, tackling a lot of the casework classroom upgrades in each of the various grade levels there. And then returning in that 2025 for mechanical equipment, above ceiling, and getting the ceilings removed and reinstalled for that 2025 school year.
So Randy started all that with saying, hey, we did these in a vacuum, right? We haven't had any collaboration with Bray, we haven't had collaboration with you guys, but we really want to be able to walk in, if we are fortunate enough to be selected as your partner, and be able to walk in day one and sit down and really start rolling our sleeves up and digging into those things, because there's probably 100 other different variations that may come out of it that make more sense for you operationally, and maybe they make some sense from a design standpoint. But we really want to walk in with a good knowledge of the project. So we'll wrap up real quick with why us, and hopefully there's lots of reasons why us. We talked about a lot of them. There's some up there. But I'll leave you maybe with 2 that we haven't talked about is, one, we truly want to be a partner of the Hudson School District. We've got history here. We've got lots of local connections. The team is ready. They've started rolling their sleeves up a little bit with all the work they've done on the phasing and scheduling stuff, but we want to roll them all the way up and really get to work hard for you guys. And another thing that I think you won't find with any other firms is the level of transparency that you have with Market of Johnson. What you see is what you get. There's no secrets. There's no hidden information. Everything is transparent, from costing to cost savings to how we provide all the backup to all the invoices to how we're working with Bray and creating options and solutions and stuff like that. We have to be as transparent as you guys do, because if we're gonna be a true partner with you guys, we gotta be side by side and make sure that if you are out in the community, you know as much as we know, and that there's never any secrets. So we take that approach with all of our projects. So that's what we got. We're probably 1 minute over because James was slow on the click there, but we'll blame him. But so, questions?
All right. So I have 2 quick questions. In Minnesota, the owner sees all bid proposals on bid day, not a bid summary. For all work scopes, with a sealed bid opening, will our experience be the same? And then if we select your firm, who will own or have final approval of the project budgeted contingency funds used?
Great questions. I think Casey talked about the bidding stuff, so why don't you go ahead and tackle that real quick?
As far as how much contingency is included is the
Start with
question?
the bidding process on.
Oh, okay.
Will they get bid tabs?
Will we be able to see the, formal proposals on bid day?
Yes. And what I envision is a room like this. If we could use this office, that would be great for publishing where bids are due and when they're due. I would envision a space like this, right? They would come in, if someone on the board wants to even accept the bids, and we can do hands-off approach too, and you guys actually physically open them. And then after we open them and tally them up on the screen live, we'll go back, scan them all in. You guys can even have the hard copies. We also put thumb drives together electronically too, so you could have multiple copies of everything. But we do that live here, where one person would open them up, read them off, have a person entering them in on our software, and you would have basically the number on bid day of where things ended. So that's the process. It could be totally in your hands and we're just here watching, or we could be assisting, but that's one way to just keep it transparent. Now, as far as contingency, at that point, contingency is a factor of the documents and the condition they're in and how many specific conflicts there might be. But at that point, there shouldn't be a lot of contingency at the end of the day when things are 100% designed at that point.
No, so we have, I think, 7.5% budgeted for contingency in dollars. So if we're fortunate enough to work with you guys, who owns that contingency?
You own
guys?
that. You own all, yeah. So as a, typically what'll happen is if you're carrying 7.5 or whatever number we start with on the budgeting side of things, right? The more detailed the drawings get, the contingency will get narrower and narrower. On bid day, we might walk into the bid day with a 5% contingency after bids. Being a remodel, if you have 7.5, that's not a bad number to be carrying, but regardless of what that number is, you guys own that. So for us to take any monies out of there, it's a very formal process where Leo and Spencer and Randy, they have to get, they'll write a change order directive or pricing thing. That'll go to Matt's team to make sure it's legit first, and then that'll come to you guys. You'll sign off, then it gets executed. So for money to come out of the contingency pot, some representative of the Hudson School District will be involved with signing off on that. Yeah.
Thank you.
Don't forget to push a
I'm
button.
trying to be helpful, thank you. It seems like you've worked with Bray a lot, and I just wondered, how do you communicate back and forth in terms of pre-construction, bidding, construction, and the closeout? What is your process specifically? And I guess that's pretty much it.
Yeah, good question. Maybe I'll start because actually I was just with Clint, Matt's partner this morning working at Sparta. On the pre-construction side, it's collaborative, right? So it's hand in hand. We're bouncing ideas back and forth and all that kind of stuff. During the project, it's the same way. We're inviting them to the meetings. We're in constant communication with them. But maybe, Leo, why don't you talk about closeout? Because we've got a pretty proactive process. It doesn't wait till it's done and then, hey, let's start. So maybe you can address the closeout.
Yeah, so for a closeout, we're gonna start, say a month before we're gonna be done, right? And we'll use that program Procore. All the documents go in there. We'll gather all of them and go through, see if there's anything special you want, any O&Ms, any kind of training. And we're gonna gather all that information and we're gonna hand it off to you so that you can use it, right? Owner training, right? Just different manuals and how things work. So we're gonna do that and start ahead of the final completion date so that it's not a rush or an afterthought. It's actually something that you can rely on in the future.
Closeout is probably one of the most critical steps because, we can leave tonight and hopefully you love us and we love you guys and then we start and then, if we end bad, that's what you're all going to remember, right? So we got to be good all the way through, but really we need to make sure that we end just as strong as we finish. So I think that goes back to a little bit of our commitment with the 2-year warranty. We're here for you. The Special Projects Division, we're here for you. And just being local, I think, backs up our need to make sure that we're delivering for you guys.
Given that construction will be commencing 8+ months from now, how do you ensure budgets account for fluctuations in market conditions that might happen?
It's going down now, right? Everything's going down. It went so stinking high. It's got to go down. I like Casey. Casey's the budget guy.
Can we get the 2-minute version of this? 90-minute version of this?
Well, Randy touched on the MEP side of things. I think involving those partners early prior to bid, they're willing to do that for us too, to make sure we're getting real market condition pricing from multiple vendors, not just an engineer's estimate. And we also have our host of background of benchmarks of where cost has been. So we got a lot of information, but we really like to get that real-time information from those partners that are very interested in doing the work with us when the documents are done too. So I would say that's our primary strategy, and we get real-time information on lead times too, so that seems to work best.
Utilize escalation and so forth as well, right? Yeah, so part of the estimate will have contingencies, of course, but the longer it's out, we'll employ a escalation number in there that will eventually go away once we identify that budget.
And Casey mentioned lead times. Lead times are probably almost as important right now as anything. So we're working together at Baldwin Hospital on their phase. And the generator, the backup generator, had a longer lead. Like, we could have done construction twice over before the generator was going to get there, and then the state wasn't going to give them occupancy. So working together with trade partners like Casey was talking about, it's not just always about the pricing or what's the right unit. It's also about figuring out options when it comes to tackling those things. Because switch gear, generators, some of those things are still crazy long. So.
It's kind of a standard question, which I'm sure you have a canned answer for, where you turn a negative into a sterling positive. But could you talk about a project that maybe hadn't gone as well and what you learned from that and how you turned that around?
Well.
Yeah, I'm sure you guys have never had this happen.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'll let you guys
Trying to
continue to think
of
if
which
you have
job
one.
to think of.
Yeah.
I don't know.
You know, I'll say there's not jobs that haven't gone times, but there's always situations, right? I mean, the Confluence Center downtown Eau Claire, I mean, if you want to talk about having spotlights on you, it was that. It was a public-private partnership between Market and Johnson, the university, the city, the county, developing this, full block of downtown Eau Claire, so everybody's eyes were on it, right? And we had a little barge that hit a sanitary line that wasn't even part of our scope of work, right? But how do you deal with those situations? How do you address it? How do you stand behind it? So I don't know if I've got great examples of projects that went bad, but situations, there's definitely going to be challenges. We're gonna butt heads sometime, whether it's us and Bray on what the right solution is, or us with you guys on how to face something that, I mean, there's going to be challenges, and it comes back to communicating, finding solutions, listening to each other, and understanding everybody's challenges and coming up, with a solution that works. But
Okay, here's where you took a negative, you made it positive, but it ended up negative for me because I used to work at the State Theater right down the block from the
Yeah.
Conference Center, which is now sitting there vacant because you guys built the new theater, so.
it's really nice,
So
though,
do
isn't it?
something
Let's
with
end
the-
on a
do
positive. It's
something
really
with the state,
nice.
please.
Which
For the record,
was
we
some
did
amazing concerts, having recently been there to see Ani DeFranco, so thank you
Yeah.
for your work on that
So
building.
maybe that was
Yeah.
our bad job. It's a job that we haven't done yet.
Yeah, well, for the record, we did do the State Theater renovation too, so that's positive, right? Years ago, a lot of years ago. And I'm not impressed, so I don't know if any of you guys have better situations.
No, I over 20-some years, I've certainly had some not most desirable end dates on, or some projects that not end well. But the main thing is you have to stay focused on getting the job done. Your name is still on that job. Whether it comes out financially in the end, I don't want you, the owner, seeing that or feeling that, right? We want to come out finishing strong regardless of what the internal issues are. So we keep our subs focused, keep our self-perform focused, and just do what we're supposed to be doing.
So I'm curious, I mean, you've done a ton of schoolwork, several of you are local, you've had a chance to see and dig into our 3 projects. What about it to you is kind of the most exciting, like, dang, we're gonna nail this one? And what about this project do you think presents the biggest opportunities for challenges?
I'll let the local guys talk, but I'm going to steal probably the easy one, right? The easy one is I can't wait to rip up that carpet in the gym because it's just weird. I mean, who does that? But it had to have been some kind of.
It's
I don't know.
original.
It's original. It's very original. So it's unique too. So it's a positive and a negative, right?
And it's still there.
Yeah.
30 years old.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll start. Being that I have, attended 2 of the schools that are going to be a part of this referendum, the entirety of the project is going to be exciting and cool to, come back to a district that had such an impact on my life. But I would say if I had to select, it'd probably be North Hudson. I did attend that school, I've grown up in the North Hudson community, and to be a part of, another addition onto that building I mean, I don't think there's been an addition there for quite some time. So being able to be a part of something like that is just overall exciting.
Well, and for me, it's the same thing, being part of this community. You know, I'm thrilled to be part of this project. I'm more EP rock, so I'm excited to transform that, you know, give that a facelift and see what that can look like. So I'm excited for that, you know. And everybody thinks, oh, it's great schoolwork, right? No, I'm actually excited for this, so.
How about the worry side of the question?
Yeah, the worry side to me is lead time, and the phasing is the phasing part of it, is coming up with the right solution with Bray, not only balance costs and lead time and the scope of the work that needs to be done in each summer, but then make sure it's operationally effective for you guys. Married to a teacher, we don't want to alienate that group of people to begin with. So, I mean, there's a lot of moving parts, and so, you know, we talk about additions, greenfield sites being the easiest, having big additions, and little remodels are the next one. Well, you guys really don't have a lot of that. You have really intense gut remodel, touching every component, and the dominoes and the skeletons that are behind the closet that none of us really know about. I know when we were walking through with Matt and his team, we were talking about, you know, ceilings. Can we get the ceilings out and do some exploration this year and work with the city? Hopefully maybe to keep those ceilings exposed so we don't have to double do the work. It's all those exploration things that I think are probably going to uncover a few curveballs that no one's expecting right now.
But we have time for that.
We have time for that.
I was gonna say the summer crunch is probably one of the biggest ones.
Thanks. I'm glad to hear you're planning around North Hudson for the traffic, because my mom lives half a block from Pepperfest, and if you slow Pepperfest down, you'll never stop hearing about that. But I was wondering, what are two of the most important ways that you can support the school district and the administration during the pre-construction process?
That's good. You're the director of pre-construction.
I think just transparency, making sure everyone's aware of where we're at any given point in time with the design, cost-wise. So just being in the know of the status of the job cost-wise. I think that's a fundamental that's important. And then coming up with the options and how we're gonna go about it. So the means and methods of the execution side of things and what that means on your end and how that's gonna impact and how we need to work together.
Yeah. I'll quick add to that. I think there's going to be decisions that Nick and his team are going to have to make. And I think not only having that transparency, but having really accurate information. So when we give numbers and you're making decisions based on those numbers, or when we're given durations and you're making decisions based on those durations, they better be right, right? Because if you don't, then you've got domino effects the other way. So I think the accuracy component of everything Casey said is huge.
Mr. President? Yes. Just a last quick question. Under the CMR contract being proposed, will you guarantee full visibility to subcontractor and supplier proposals for change orders?
Yeah, 100%. You'll see everything.
Thank you.
Yeah, with any change orders, I send in the documentation, so you're gonna see it. So you'll,
Do you have any experience with like STEM, bringing students in part of the project, or high school students for a learning experience?
Yeah. Actually, you know what, that's gonna go to his head, because he said we really should have a slide on that, and we aced it out, but, yeah. So, multifaceted, great, I'm glad I don't have to ride with him, but, a bunch of different ways. One, oftentimes we'll engage students during the construction, just not employment-wise, but just get them involved. So we've done things where we've talked to the math classes and had them do experiences with, hey, let's do a quantity takeoff on the concrete, and have them do the same type of job that these guys are doing, you know, with their projects. So there's some opportunities there to get kids engaged. But we do have a lot of youth apprentices that we've hired over the years. So one of the best success stories, Melrose Mindoro, a project that we did with Bray, we hired 2 kids down there. One of our longest attending laborers down in our lacrosse market now is a kid that we got from the Melrose Mindoro school project. So yeah, we're super engaged with the unions on getting them engaged with the youth apprenticeship program. The AGC, Association of General Contractors, we're on the board there July 27th, 28th. Don't quote me, the Thursday, whatever that is.
they're coming up. We're doing an educational golf outing to create awareness of their tech ed programs that they want to institute into the school district. So we're super engaged when it comes to connecting youth and construction because, like I said, when the opening slide, we got 350 field people, and as most companies are running away from having tradespeople because it's so hard to get them, we're running to the elementary schools, to the middle schools, to the high schools because it's a dying trade, especially the troll trades, concrete and masonry. It's tough because it's hard work. It's an area that if you have kids that want to go, sign them up. We got them. We got employment for them. But yeah, absolutely.
Jamie, just one follow-up question that made me think about is, you've talked about, and I appreciate your sensitivity to the different neighborhoods and the need for safety and basically to keep people away from the construction. Can you talk about, are there times when you do provide the community some access or some involvement with the project so that aside from the communications they might get from the district, they actually do feel like they're seeing and engaged with what's going on?
Yep, good question. So we've got a number of, so we talked about the drones and the Ox Blue, so those could be, continual social media type posts, but we've had a lot of times where we get to a point where we're safe in construction. So in your guys' case, maybe we get towards the end of a summer, right before we're gonna have kids come back. Maybe we have a community open house at that time and bring in community members to do tours at that phase. Eau Claire County Jail, we've actually set up a community viewing booth right outside. Now, that's different, right? They're building this huge $60 million jail, so you could sit and watch. Unfortunately, a lot of your guys' stuff is inside, so it's tough to see. But yeah, we've done a lot of that and opened any ideas. With it being an intense remodel, it's tough to show off, big sexy addition, but yeah, we're definitely open to it.
Mr. President?
Yes, Molly.
Just kind of a follow-up with that is, do you have a process for somehow the neighborhood to kind of keep them engaged, or not engaged, maybe more like aware of what's going on in particular? That's one part. And then as the kids, the younger kids especially, kind of starting young, is there anything that you can do to kind of make it exciting for them? Even though you kind of will be there at different times, more or less.
Yep. I think Randy did something on Somerset with the community, neighborhoods around, passing out postcards and stuff like that, didn't you?
Sure, yeah, I think we did.
If
Yeah, I think
I
we
got the
did.
wrong one,
No,
well,
it might be, no, part of, I guess, maybe part of the answer is what we do, as Leo presented with Prescott, we do the daily flyers that go out to the school district, but that also goes out to the community. If you want to put that on your webpage, engage the community, we can add various bullets in there to engage the community more if you wish, right? Upcoming events, upcoming milestones we want to hit. We're open to anything you want to do there. With kids in schools, we've done events where we have the kids come walking through, we'll give them hard hats, take a day, and I mean, these guys here, they love having the kids come through, showing them what's going on. It'll be a safe environment, of course, but we have our, we're 100% open to any ideas you may have. We've tried a number of things that have worked in the past. It's always fun and exciting working around kids. It's a little scary too, right? Because they're always very eager and very curious what's going on. So all the fences are up there kind of, to help them as well, but 100% open to engagement.
All right, for the record, it was the Bayport Library, not Somerset, so I'm
you.
sorry, I didn't mean to put you. So Bayport, we did provide neighborhood flyers to walk around, kind of stuffed them around, kind of give them the update, what's going on at the public library project there, so I apologize for giving the wrong one. I did, sorry.
We had another job in Eau Claire where we actually just had to go meet with the owners. We had an alleyway in between our project and their properties, and it was downtown, so it was congested. In that space, at 14, 16 feet, was very critical on their end too for dumpsters and access. So we came up with a plan, right? We just had to go meet with every owner, have a plan, show them a schedule of the frequency of when we're going to be shutting it down for access. And it was all smooth until we met with the fire marshals. And then all of a sudden, we had to come up with a revised plan for safety reasons, and then we massaged that, and everyone was happy then after that point. So it's normal. We just have to communicate and get all the parties involved and everyone aware.
So the board hasn't had a chance to review the fee schedules or anything, but, Matt has, my team started looking at them. So we look at how your staff is, it seems to me like hypothetical 2, which is 2 SummerSlams, is probably the option that'd be proposed. And looking at how you would staff it, you're proposing about $171,000 worth of personnel cost a month for these sites. So is that, 3 project managers, so 1 project manager for each site, 1 system project manager for each site? Just trying to understand how that fee structure is put together. It just seems like an awful lot of fee for $35 million worth of construction.
Yep. So we looked at this as there was some guidance in the RFPs about having X number of project managers, X number of superintendents and stuff, so we use that as a guideline to begin with. What's representatives is the project managers being on site 3 days a week. We got the assistant, or field engineers on each one of the sites, and then the superintendents on site. So obviously all that's negotiable. It's a starting point, right? So we kind of filled it in, kind of worst case scenarios, kind of like the Somerset scenario that Randy talked about, where we started with, at the same juncture, having 2 summers, and then, ultimately we came up with a solution that was 1 summer. Regardless of how we do it, if we can make changes and make it more efficient, we absolutely will cut that down. And in full disclosure, I don't remember if it was 6 years or 7 ago, but when we interviewed last time, we kind of came in with a pretty lean staffing structure, and some of the feedback that we got was, you should have probably had a more robust structure, and so maybe if we're a little bit robust, but regardless, it goes back to, we want to be a partner. If we're too heavy on something, as we go through and we start looking at the scopes and how, if we got cut back, we absolutely will cut back and make sure it's right. We kind of wanted to kind of blend it, to match what was in the RP requirements, match what we think is kind of probably a heavy staffing plan, but kind of be upfront, kind of worst case scenario.
The other thing with this contract, this is cost plus, right? So if we estimated X amount of hours for all of our staff on it, and those hours aren't used, that's dollars that weren't used, so we're not billing for it. So you're only gonna get billed for that cost. So we sometimes like to take the conservative approach, right? And always give you good news and keep refining it another step closer to the dartboard as we go. But it's cost plus, so basically we're at a cap. We're not gonna go over it, but we're gonna keep refining it and fall under it is our plan.
Perfect.
All right, I guess I'll kind of, if I get a chance to ask a question, I'd like to be able to do that. And you wouldn't be the first construction manager firm to tell us that you're great at holding down costs and provide excellent service. That's what they all say, all right?
You've heard that before?
So everyone says on time and under budget, right? But what, and I'm going to take part, your answer that cannot be your ties to Hudson, because you've hammered that quite well, all right? Kind of like a fly with a sledgehammer, so we understand that. So what is a differentiating characteristic? In my field, I happen to be an attorney, and there's more than one law firm, if you didn't know that, in the Twin Cities. And so we get asked that all the time, what differentiates you from other law firms? So what differentiates you for these particular projects for Hudson?
Yep. To me, it comes down to a combination of our ability to self-perform, and we know that we've got to earn all that, but that expertise and having it being right here in western Wisconsin, having all that experience, whether it was the experience in the city, if it's experience with Wisconsin school districts, if it's experience with Bray, when you combine all that with our hands-on construction knowledge, that's where the rubber hits the road. That's when we're making really smart decisions. We talk about accuracy when Nick's got to make a decision. We have the depth of information that when we're looking at budgeting, when we're looking at scheduling, when we're looking at working with Matt's team on design challenges that we have, we're eliminating a lot of issues that are happening in the field for most firms because we know how it is to construct those in this section of the state. So to me, that's the combination of the answer. I know you were chomping at the bit, so.
I was.
All right, go ahead.
I got very excited. I was gonna say, our culture. We have a mission statement, adding value to everything we do. Our core value is impact, intentional, motivated, passionate, accounting, caring, and trustworthy. It's who we are, how we show up, and it's a culture that we bring and the team brings to the project too. So it's just, it's cool with it's a M&J family. That's why I was chomping at the bit because it's different. It's different than all the other projects and companies I've worked for, so.
Yeah, and I guess for me, from a operation standpoint, we've got the best of both worlds. We're in Stillwater, but yet we have the office in Eau Claire and La Crosse. We've got folks from the Minnesota side and the Wisconsin side, subcontractor base, strong in both sides of there. We've proven that with many of the jobs. I mean, we all know that Hudson is sometimes considered part of the suburbs over there, right? And we try to take that advantage and utilize the folks we have here and over at Minnesota.
All right, very good, thanks. Go ahead, Matt.
One question, just to I'm going to make a statement. Please validate that I'm getting this correct. So you've talked about the self-perform work being an important piece. Can I assume that you obviously believe self-performance is important to the success of the projects? You would like to self-perform, but you are understanding of the structure whereby you will need to be competitive in bidding that work? Okay, I just want to make sure that was clear, so that we didn't have to call you and ask you that question later.
We know it's being public, we sure want to. We're sure absolutely confident of our ability to earn that work through the bid process. We just did it yesterday with the Eau Claire School District Putnam bid. We bid all the work. We had competitive bids on demo, drywall, chipboard, with one other division. So yes, we know that we've got to earn that work. When it comes to the bidding process, we'll turn our numbers in a sealed envelope early before others. No difference to the transparency and the integrity of the bid process is there, but yeah, we know we got to earn it.
So if I may, so that particular job, of the self-perform work that was competitively bid, how much of it did you guys wind up with?
Before you answer, can I add on to that, Rob? Is that okay?
Please.
Can you also say how many competing bids did you get for the trades that you bid on?
Yep. So Putnam is a 8 classroom addition, so it's not a huge project. It's about $6 million, give or take, some remodel. So there's not a lot of brick and mortar. So we did not get any concrete or masonry bids. So we were successful on those, which was great. And it goes back to their conversation in the trowel trades. It's hard to find. There's not that many masonry contractors out there, especially for small. On the building works, drywall and chipboard, we had 3 other bidders, all competitors. We were, let's see, because there was three bid packages. We were low on 2 of the 3. We were not low on one of them. Combo bid, we were low by 13,000 on a million. So yeah, you'll see all that process.
Okay. Anything further? All right, very good. Thank you very much for coming in, for your presentation.
Thanks.
Thank you. Thanks.